Gap City, B-Dub, Africa, the rest of the world. What's going on? And welcome to another episode of the Juice 2.0.
Got the flavor, that's juice. Juice. That's juice.
Best podcast in town, in the country, right now.
It's not bullshitting at all.
Isn't she lovely?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, damn, she is. Ooh.
2.0, and you boys know I flip verse like 2 coins over your head.
It's been amazing, and I need you to do one thing for me out of everything you could ever possibly do. Stay juicy. It's the Juice 2.0.
So tell your people there's breakfast.
Juicy.
Juice.
Gap City, B-Dub, Africa, the rest of the world. What's going on? And welcome to another episode of the Juice 2.0. Thank you so much for stopping by. Really, really appreciate you. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided let's hang out with Tkay and his guest. And for that, bottom of my heart, I am very grateful. Returning subscriber, you are amazing. And in case you haven't subscribed, help us grow. And you can do that by simply clicking subscribe. Do that right now. Today we're coming to you all the way from Town Lodge, right here in the airport junction. So big shout out going out to them for our venue sponsorship. Big shout out going out to the team. It's beautiful out here. So you're gonna see some adverts on how you can come over here, spend some time home away from home. That's what they say. And my guest today, man. Woof. So if you thought First Capital Bank CEO was an amazing conversation, you do not know what's coming today because I brought some of the big guns in the corporate world. And I'm talking about the regional space. Ladies and gentlemen, he's become a very good friend, and I'm very honored to even say that. Such a huge privilege. He is the SADC DFRC CEO. And I need you to put your hands together for what is about to be an amazing, insightful, enlightening, inspiring conversation from this amazing gentleman. Zweli Sapula is in the building. Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, but I'm good.
Yeah, such your days, right? I mean,
It's been a long day, but I'm good. Yeah, it's been a fighting day and a happy day,
Okay.
all in one.
Sheesh.
So it's a good one.
How many of those days do you have? Like
Every
let's say in a week.
You know, every day is different.
Yeah.
I never go through a same day twice.
Right.
I think in the role that I'm in, there isn't a lot that is monotonous.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I like about it, because there's so much that you're doing and so much that's always on the go.
Yeah.
And there are days when it's not busy
Of course.
and people find it surprising. But then there are days when it's really busy and you have
Yeah.
no time for anything else. So today was one of those half and half.
Half
It
and
was
half,
quite
yeah.
busy, but then I also had some time to not chill, but
Yeah.
spend some time reading, reflecting,
Yeah.
and thinking about the future. So, which
love
is
that.
important, by the way.
Yeah.
You can never be a CEO if you don't find time to chill, think about the future,
Yeah.
and make some time to really disconnect just for a little bit,
A little
so that
bit,
you can
yeah.
look at the picture from from the top, not from a micro perspective.
Oh, I'm glad it's a half day because then you can make a little bit of time for us at the Juice 2.0.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you. So welcome to the show. I don't know if you've known anything about the Juice 2.0 before. I mean,
I think until I met you, I didn't know anything.
oh yeah. Yeah.
And then I met you, and then looked at a few episodes after
Yeah.
we talked, and it's quite an interesting platform.
Yeah.
I think it's got the ability to actually bring people together.
Right,
Not only
right.
that, but also inspire people to be able to achieve more. I always say to people that I wish I knew when I was 20 years old what I know now. Life would be completely different.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But here we are. And those lessons were necessary and they're important. And I mean, I'm still learning stuff now.
Of course.
So it's a good thing.
I love it.
And that's what your platform actually does. It creates an opportunity for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And for leaders like you, I always want to ask what the intention for at least saying yes to our invitation is. But I always also like to go first and tell you what my intention for bringing you here
Okay, I'm interested
was.
in
You
that
know,
one. I'm interested in knowing that. So why are we here?
right? Well, like,
Tkay?
why are we
Yeah,
doing this?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, you're a cool person. I've met you. It's what? It's about a month now, a month and a half.
It's a month and a half, but we actually started talking in December last year.
December last year. So since knowing you've played a role where you don't even know that you're inspiring me, you don't even know that you're mentoring me in some aspects of my life, especially when we have sat down and we've spoken about life, careers and all of that. And I think only until recently have I told you that, man, you're doing this to my life. And one of the reasons, among so many reasons, that I brought you here was so that my audience can benefit a little bit as well from that. Because I'm not a selfish person.
Share the love, share the
Share the
love.
love, share the love. So chief amongst the reasons is exactly that, to share the light, share the knowledge, the wisdom that you've shared with me. And all right, your turn.
My turn.
Yeah.
To tell the story.
Yeah.
My mentor always used to say, your story is not your own. Your story is meant for other people. And the reason it's meant for other people is because your story can inspire someone who's going through something difficult. And just knowing that there's somebody else that went through the same thing and how they came out of it gives them hope that they can't be stuck in that place forever. That's for me is the main thing. So every time I get an opportunity to tell my story, whichever part of my story that is, I always jump at that, because I really do think that my story, as uninspiring as sometimes I think it is, there's always somebody that turns around and says, you said this and this and this, and this is how it inspired me. But I think, when you live your life, you don't think that your story and your journey can inspire anybody else until you hear them tell you that, this is what I've seen you do, or this is what I heard about you, and it's inspired my life. And I mean, if I can have just a little bit of an opportunity to impact someone to do better in life, why not?
Yeah, they say one is good.
One's good.
One soul at a time is good.
That's all you want to do.
Yeah.
Impart your knowledge and share it, and have one person say, hey, you changed my life, and that's enough.
So I'm really hoping that tonight we can be able to do that. I have a ritual as well. We have to toast to something, and I let my guests do that.
Okay, that I didn't know. So what will we toast to? Okay.
Make it good, Zweli, because I'm gonna cut that part.
You're gonna cut that part.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
make
cut
it good.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a toast to life,
Yeah.
but there's so many aspects in life.
True.
So maybe I'd say a toast to courage. Every single person in the world goes through a lot. Every single person in the world has a mountain that they have to climb over.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to have courage to be able to climb over that mountain.
Right.
And sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it looks like it's not possible. But when you have the courage to do it, you'll always come up at the top and be surprised at the journey that you've gone through. So to courage.
To courage.
Yes.
Cheers. So, telling your story, man, where do we start? What's the upbringing like? What's the background like? Let's start from the grassroots. Who is Zweli, and how does he come up? What's his background? You can even touch on family. You can touch on where you grew up, and just please describe that for me.
Sure. My childhood.
Yeah.
So I was born, I'm an only child. So my parents were married many years ago, and I was born a year after my parents got married. Wow. Clearly they had a great honeymoon.
Yeah, it looked like
So I was born in a small town in the eastern part of Joburg called Boksburg.
Yeah.
So I was born there. I lived there for most of my life. And I lived with both my parents, obviously. My father worked in the mines at the time. My mom was a school teacher. And I think I learned a lot from my mom, because my schooling career, I started at the school where my mother was teaching at. So my mother used to make an example of me all the time. If anything went wrong, I was the one that gets punished. I got this most severe punishment just to show that she has no favorites.
right.
And everyone gets the punishment. So, and I don't regret that, actually, because it made me to be responsible. It made me to know that life has consequences. And it made me realize that people do things for you for the better.
Yeah.
At the time when it happened, I hated it. Obviously, you hate being punished as a child. But
Yeah.
when I look back, I always think, that experience taught me so much, and it's made me into the person I am today. So the East Rand, in a small town called Vosloorus,
Mm,
that's where I grew up.
awesome.
There are a few people actually that come from that. It's called Katoris, which is Vosloorus and Katlehong
Okay.
put together.
Yeah.
There's a few people that come from there. For example, Sol Penduga comes from there.
So it's from there.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
What's his name? The guy with the deep voice. I always forget his name.
It's not Sabu, right?
Not Sbu. So
Okay.
Kabza the Smalls also comes from there.
Oh, nice.
And I can hear this man's voice, but
Deep voice. Is he a singer, DJ?
yeah, he's a singer.
A singer.
I don't know how popular he is in Botswana,
Okay.
but great. He's really popular in South Africa. So he also comes from there.
Amazing.
And a few guys who did Amapiano actually come from there. And we also have quite a few celebrities in the sort of like TV space also who came.
Sounds
from
like the
there.
place to have been,
So
to have
it's
grown up in, right?
Funny enough, it growing up, we never really saw it that way.
Of course, yeah.
Because I mean, when we were growing up, there were a lot of our own problems that we had, and there was no time to really celebrate celebrities and all of that. I mean, I grew up during apartheid time, South Africa, where there was segregation of white people and black people, which was a difficult time. And I remember the first time I saw somebody being burnt live. Wow! I was in standard 6. No, not even standard 6. I think I was in standard 4, standard 5.
Goodness.
I'm still in primary school.
Right.
And just before we had the elections, the first time we had elections in South Africa, there was a war between the ANC and the IFP, and we felt the brunt of it. So you can imagine, during the day, you walking around and they find someone and they say he's an informer, and they put a tire around his head, put petrol on it, and set him alive.
I've only learned that they call it the necklace through the Winnie Mandela's documentary that just came out.
Yeah. So I witnessed that at the age of, how old was I? Maybe 11, 12.
Does that affect you? How does that work in your mind going forward?
I think every experience has one of two things.
Yeah.
It either strengthens you or it weakens you.
Yeah.
And which one you become depends on you as a person, what you choose. And, we were going through a lot during that time, and you had to be resilient. And when that happened and I saw that for the first time, yes, it was scary. Yes, it was hard. But I had to make a choice. It was a war. People were dying and things were happening. My parents actually had taken in some people who were displaced that we were then living with in our house, who's either they got kicked out of their house because it was too dangerous where they were, so they came to live with us. And I remember the gentleman that came to stay with us, they went out to go fight the one time with my dad as part of this war thing, and he never came back.
Oh no!
And this was before I experienced the necklacing of the person.
Yeah.
And he never came back. And he left a wife who was pregnant at the time living with us.
Shame.
And we saw a lot. When you watch Winnie and the things that happened there, those are some of the things that we grew up seeing.
Yeah.
And it makes you strong sometimes. It makes you have a purpose that you want to live for, because you're like, this is not the life I want for myself.
Right.
And how do I get out of this? And what do I want for myself? For me, that's what it did for me. It made me ask myself questions about what kind of life I want and what future I want.
Yeah.
And how can I have an impact in creating that future? I remember growing up, I used to ask myself, how is it that some people become these icons? Like, if you hear the name Nelson Mandela, an icon.
Biggest
you hear the name Oliver Tambo, big icon, right?
Yeah.
I don't know in Botswana, because I don't know much about the Botswana history, but I'm sure there are people whose names you mention in Botswana and people will say an icon, right?
Yeah.
What makes an icon? And what makes you different from a person that becomes an icon? So growing up, those are the questions I used to ask myself, to say, what makes an icon? What are the things that make someone so different that the whole world turns to them?
Isn't it crazy that this is happening at such a young age? Did you have
Yeah.
inspirational people around you, people that would sort of forge this mindset? Because look, when we're young, we're pretty much just playing on the road, on the streets, we're playing video games. But even when you're doing that, the mindset that I wonder how these guys become icons. I don't think it's anything that comes as quickly as during our tender and young ages.
I think it's because of the books I read with my mom. So my mother was at the time was a history teacher,
Ah,
right? And she did her degree in history. So at home there were a lot of history books. And at a very young age, I used to read a lot of history, which is why I like Machiavelli,
yes, of
which
course.
is why I
of
like
course.
Marcus Aurelius, and which is why I believe so much in Stoicism because of the content that I consumed growing up from my mother's library.
There's so much of that coming up.
So reading a lot of history books, and you hear about Louis Antoinette, you hear about
Yes.
King Louis the 16th, and you hear, unfortunately, most of it was European history that I
Yeah.
learned. Right,
Yeah.
I read about the Second World War at that very young age, so I knew a lot of history at that point in time,
Right.
and it kind of always made me wonder. So how does someone become a Louis the 16th? Well, he was a king, so he was born into royalty,
Born
right?
into it. Yeah.
But if you look at other people who ended up becoming a monarch, and also why is there a monarch? So I was a kid who was curious. I used to ask myself stupid questions like, who decided an apple is an apple? And then you ask the adults that, and they're like, you're stupid.
Why are you asking these questions?
Yeah. So I was always curious. I would used to ask stupid questions. Well,
Yeah.
now people say I'm stupid, but I don't think they're stupid.
Yeah.
It was just me being curious why the world is the way it is.
So you're growing up in this place, primary school. Do you also do your high school in there? And then what happens with college?
No, so when I went to high school, I went to a high school. So this is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
I went to a school. I lived in the East Rand, but I went to primary school in Johannesburg, in the city center of Johannesburg,
Right.
which was an hour, 20-minute drive every day in the morning because of traffic. And then by the time I was old enough to go to high school, it was just after the unbanning of the ANC and that, and just after the apartheid laws were abolished.
Right.
Just 2 years before we had the first democratic elections in South Africa.
Okay.
So at that time, that's when they opened up all the white schools. They call them Model C schools.
Yes.
And my mother didn't even ask me what school I want to go to. I just got enrolled into a school.
Right there.
So I went from going to school in Johannesburg, where you're in the middle of the city, the biggest city in the country, where there's a lot happening. You see a lot of things at a tender young age. I think I went from that school from the time I was in standard 1 up until standard 5. And then now when I'm going to high school, I'm going to a small town, Germiston. Not really a small town, but much smaller than Joburg.
Yeah.
I went to Germiston, beautiful scenery, school right next to the lake. First time interacting with white people on a daily basis, right? And what the school did is they didn't just open the entire school to black kids. They said, we'll take 20 kids into standard 6 and then see how it goes. So we were the first black kids in the school ever.
Wow.
And we made it all the way through to the end, which we call matric.
Yeah.
And that in itself was an experience.
Of course.
Where you start interacting with people that you've never interacted with. You start asking yourself questions about, okay, why the segregation, why the things that life is. And you start find out things about yourself that you never thought you would. And I mean, you have to literally fight for almost everything.
Yeah. I can imagine that.
You're in the school, there's white kids, you're the black kids. There's still a little bit of racism that still exists from the old times because it doesn't just go away overnight.
It's a systemic thing.
Yeah. So now you have to experience that. Now, sometimes you have to fight that system. And so it was a very interesting time in my life where I went through that school. But I won't lie, it was the best time ever. If I had to go back to high school, I don't think I would change anything.
Yeah.
And purely because of the lessons and the things that I learned through that process. Even though when I talk about the racism, it wasn't like a big institutional thing where the school itself was racist, but you get individuals in the school who, who are
and you're
idiots
always sort of going to always have that,
Yeah,
right? Not specifically racism, but just individuals that are like the bad of the crop.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I went through, which was really great. But that's where I learned something really great about myself.
What's that? What's that?
Anything you want to do, you can do.
Yeah.
Because I remember I knew I wanted to go to university. So in South Africa, we have this system where you have to pass 2 languages
Okay.
for you to be able to qualify for university. So
Right.
obviously, you take 6 subjects in matric,
Yeah.
and of those 6 subjects, 2 have to be languages: one English and,
And
one another.
Okay.
So the only language that they offered at that school at the time was English and Afrikaans. Now, I did not grow up speaking Afrikaans.
Of course.
Even though we did Afrikaans at school, I never paid attention to it. I never spoke it. It
Yeah,
wasn't so.
yeah.
So I was not doing. I was doing okay with Afrikaans the first 3 years. And then, when the last 2 years, I realized I don't know anything here. It was so bad that we were reading a book in class called Kringe and the Bos.
Okay.
And the whole year, I did not know what the book was about
Jesus Christ.
until we saw the school took us to a play where in the play, they were literally replaying the book.
Wow.
That's when I was like,
Then it clicked like,
wow,
yeah,
this is what it is.
yeah.
And funny enough, I then passed that year and I passed the same Afrikaans, which I was not doing well in. So
Yeah.
sometimes in life, that's what you do. You just have to do what you need to do to get by. But you have to believe you can do it.
Yeah.
So what I did is I just believed I could do it, even though the evidence was saying something else. I just believed I could do it. So I went and I changed my exam requirements. So
Yeah.
you had to do matric. You had to do your subjects on either higher grade or standard grade.
Okay.
To get into university, you had to do them on higher grade. Now I was battling on standard grade.
Okay.
So when I registered for my exam, I registered for a higher grade exam. And the higher grade exam is supposed to be harder than a standard grade exam.
Of course. Yeah.
But alas, I passed the higher grade exam. And I think probably I would have failed
You probably would
the
have.
standard grade exam. But I think it's also because I believed I could do it. And then I did it. And then that was the end of matric. And then high school started.
High
And
school-
here's a funny thing.
Yeah. What's that?
I was doing so badly at Afrikaans in my undergrad, in high school.
Yeah.
When I went to university, I went to an Afrikaans university,
Ooh.
where most of my first year at university was done in Afrikaans.
Ooh.
And everyone spoke Afrikaans around me. So today I can speak Afrikaans much better, and I think I'm much better at Afrikaans than I was back then.
Okay.
But it's such an irony that the thing that I was battling with was the environment that I then found myself in. And I had to then make it in that year.
So imagine if you hadn't put your mind to learning this thing and getting good at it, you would have found yourself in that place and you would have sucked.
I
right?
probably wouldn't have been qualified.
You
to go
wouldn't
there.
have. Yeah.
That's the thing. So I qualified to get there because I really pushed myself to do this thing, and I did it. Yeah.
You know, I'm sensing like a teaching lesson there where the things that we push away because they are hard, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
and we never really dare to try, could be the things that we need in the very near future.
Most of the time it is.
That's crazy.
You know, every time I look at my career and I look at things and I reflect, a lot of things that I came across that I didn't know how to do while I was doing something becomes something that now becomes a big thing when I move to the next role. And you're like, there's this thing, I've done this thing before. And now you're like, oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
why I
that's
did
what-
this thing,
wow.
because I needed it here. But the thing is, sometimes we shy away from those things. Why? I don't know, because it's hard.
Yeah.
And then we say, no, I'll skip this thing. I'll try the easy thing. But sometimes the hard thing is the thing that opens the door for your next. But because you didn't do it, your next does not become as epic as what it could
Right. Right.
be, because
right.
you said no to it. Right?
And hard is a mindset, right?
It is. The one thing I always say is, you just have to be comfortable with not knowing how to do something.
Yeah, you need to say that
But-
one more time. You just have to be comfortable. You just have to be
Comfortable with not knowing how
not
to
knowing
do
how to
something.
do something.
Because everything you don't know how to do, the first time you do it, you don't know how to do it.
Of course.
The first time you had to ride a bicycle, you didn't know how to do it. First time you did your podcast, you didn't know how to do it.
I didn't know how to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
But you have to do that very first one for you to be able to do the next. It's like doing something bad. It's harder to do something for the first time than is to do it for the second time. If you ask anyone who's ever done drugs,
Yeah.
they'll tell you this. The hardest thing to do is taking that first pill
First pill. Right.
because your conscience and everything tells you it's
It's
the wrong
shouting
thing
at
and
you,
it's shouting at you.
yeah.
After you've taken it, you're like, wasn't so bad. I can take another one. But what works for the good thing is also what works for the bad
For the
thing.
bad thing.
Because even for the good thing, you have to do it the first time when you don't know how to do it, and then you get good at it. But if you're not willing to suck at something, you are never going to be good at it. So you have to be willing to suck before you can learn.
So we're gonna have a thing that we're gonna do on the whole course of the episode. If you say something mind blowing, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to cheers.
Okay.
Because that was pretty cool, man. You have to be uncomfortable with not knowing how to do certain things.
Yeah.
So okay, let's do this. College, you're done. Do you have in your bingo card or on your bingo card finance, development, infrastructure?
No.
What are you even doing there? What are you even doing?
Far from it.
Far from it?
So when
That
I
is
went,
crazy.
funny story, when I went to university, I was supposed to study medicine.
No way.
Yeah.
What's
And
the story there? What's
and
the
I
story
dropped
there?
out. I dropped out of medicine 3 weeks into it. We hadn't written any exams, but it just wasn't for me. I sat there thinking, this is not for me. And then I ended up registering for engineering. And how I ended up registering for engineering is also a funny story. I was on campus because I'd registered for medicine, and then my second choice was biological sciences.
Okay.
Right. But now I wanted to quit this medicine thing because I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this thing. And then I was sitting on campus at the bus stop thinking, okay, contemplating about what am I going to do now with my life? Because I know I'm doing this, but I don't want it. But what do I do next?
Right.
Somebody walks past me and says, where do we go to register for the engineering campus?
Just like that.
And I said, I'll show you. And I walked with her. We walked all the way to engineering campus. I stood behind her and we stood in the queue. And then she got to the front. She registered. I was behind her. Then they said, and you, sir? I registered. So I happened to be there at the time and I registered for chemical engineering. And here I am today with a chemical engineering degree, all because of a very random event that happened where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And throughout the whole walk, I remember she asked me, so what are you studying? And I said, I'm studying this, but I'm not sure. And then she asked me, so what are you going to do then? I was like, I don't know. And then we walked there, and just then I actually then decided I was going to do engineering.
So you have that in your bag, chemical engineer.
So I'm a chemical engineer. That's my background, process engineer. In my career, my first job, I actually was a nuclear scientist, basically, because I worked for a nuclear plant where we're doing nuclear research. So that's how I started my career.
Okay, so that is happening. Where do you let it go? I mean, it's your first job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Engineering. You're probably doing okay.
I was doing okay.
You're doing well.
I was enjoying my job.
Yeah.
It was really great.
And the perks were great.
The perks were great.
Yeah.
I bought a car.
With your first
which
job.
Which is what most people do in their first. I wouldn't clap because I don't think that was the best. Well, having a car was a good thing.
Okay.
The kind of car I bought, maybe
so
not
great.
such a great thing. Yeah. So at the time, it was better than some other people's choices.
For sure.
One of the guys we used to work with bought a Volvo, and we started working at the same time. He bought himself a Volvo.
Okay.
I think it was the sedan S40 or something like that.
Yeah.
And yet he didn't have a place to stay. So he was living in an apartment with other people, sleeping on a rolled up mattress. And he didn't even have a room. So he slept in the lounge, where at night, when he has to wait for everyone to go to sleep first and then roll out his mattress and then sleep. And then we used to call it the Swiss roll. So he slept on a Swiss roll.
Yeah.
And so I got a place. I lived with 3 other guys.
Right.
two other guys. There were three of us.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got my own place. And then when I got my own place, that's when I bought the car as well.
So you made sure everything that's necessary, priority, important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I bought the car.
Right.
But I could have bought a cheaper car,
You could have.
but I didn't. I went and bought an Opel Corsa GSI, which most people would say, yeah, it's not expensive, but it was relatively expensive for a first time employee. So it was pretty good. It wasn't so bad. I mean, at the time, my installments were like 2,500
Okay.
roughly,
Not bad.
which
Not
was
bad.
which was almost 30% of my entire salary, which is
Mm,
not a great investment choice
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
could have used that money to something else.
30% is
It's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a
30%
lot.
of your salary is a lot.
Yeah.
But no one taught me otherwise, right?
Okay.
So this was a lesson that I had to
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
that, okay, you shouldn't do this, you should do something else. You would think that after buying that car, I learned my lesson.
Hey, welcome to humanity and human beings 101.
But then I upgraded a few years later
Yeah.
to something even more expensive.
Of course.
And then 3 years later, then I upgraded again and I bought a BMW. So instead of really thinking about investment choices, etc., I didn't. I made the same mistake 3 times.
Why are we making the same mistakes?
But because nobody talks to you, nobody tells you.
Yeah.
So you think this
Yeah.
is the way. And it's also peer pressure. Everybody drives a fancy car and you think, I also want to drive
Let's
a
do
fancy
it.
car.
Yeah.
You're having this money that's coming and you've never had it before. And now you don't know what to do with it. So what you do, you buy something that you think makes you look good, where actually it doesn't. Because that's one thing that I look at my son now, and my son has got no interest in materialistic things.
Is that right?
He's got no interest.
Wait, what's his name again?
His name is Luvuyo.
Lavuyo. Yeah.
He's got no interest in materialistic things, like at all.
And you're telling me he's 17. That
Yeah.
is the time there to see if a guy or a lady, a girl are materialistic or not.
He's not. The most expensive thing my son owns is a camera.
Yeah.
And he's not interested in anything else. You ask him, he's okay, it's a camera and the watch that I bought him because
right.
when he turned 16, I bought him a watch because when I turned 16, my parents bought me a
Got
very
you a
fancy watch.
Nice, yes.
And the whole point of the watch is the fact that at the age of 16, the lesson was you might think that you are young, but time doesn't wait for no man. While you are young, that's when you cultivate your future so that when you are older, you can reap the benefits of what you did when you were younger.
You remember that rule?
So that was the
Yeah.
lesson my parents gave me. So as a tradition, I did the same when my son turned 16.
Hope he does that for his kids as well.
I hope he does, yeah.
Yeah. So does he get any of that from you? Not being materialistic? I mean, maybe the older you, because clearly.
The older me, yes.
Clearly, yeah.
But the younger me, no.
Okay.
The younger me was materialistic. I mean, even when we ran a business, I tended to be a bit flashy in my older life. When we ran a business, I was a little bit flashy.
Right.
Until the business went belly up, and then and then you start over, and then you start wooing all the decisions you made, and like, I shouldn't have bought
Shouldn't
that
have
one.
done that.
Maybe the Porsche you didn't need that. Maybe
Yeah.
this you didn't need.
Right.
Then you start thinking, okay, now you need to think differently.
Of
So
course.
that then impacts you. So then I kind of became more grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're engineer nice cars. I mean, now you even have a place to stay. You're not sharing anymore. You're comfortable.
Yeah.
Why are you then leaving this job for what else that comes after that?
Was curious. Well, two stories.
Yeah.
One is while I was doing my master's degree, I was working.
Yeah.
So I was working full time, doing my master's in engineering part time.
Okay.
And my master's thesis would have been on fluidized beds. So it was a fluidized bed reactor using plasma technology, right? And was doing this project. It was really going great. And the institution I was working for was government funded.
Okay.
Then government cut funding
Ooh.
for the very same research that I was doing. So now I had no funding for my research, which now I needed for my thesis.
Right.
And then my whole world was like literally
Kind
turned
of
upside
crushed.
down.
Yeah.
So I then thought, do I really want to do this now? And then it actually forced me to start thinking about what is it that I really want to do. I was doing this because having a master's sounds great,
Yeah.
but do I really want to be an engineer?
Mm.
The one thing that I knew is that I love solving problems.
Okay.
But is engineering the best place to be?
The
To solve
platform to do
problems?
that. Right.
That's what came to mind.
Yeah.
So I was then curious, and then somebody called me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a process engineer at a bank. Would you be interested in joining?" And then I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I left engineering to become still a process engineer at a bank,
Yeah.
working in IT as a business analyst.
Okay.
So mapping out the business processes for the bank, so that you can then give it to the IT team, so the IT team can then build the systems, right?
Okay.
And so I worked for an institute for an area which was more like an innovation hub kind of thing, because we created new products for the bank.
Pretty awesome, right?
So, which was really quite great. We did something called Payworks at the time, which was really quite an interesting thing. But I got bored. I think probably about 6 or 7 months into the job, I really got bored. Yeah, I got bored because one, it wasn't interesting.
Okay.
It was a new skill. Well, not a new skill, but it was something new that I'd never done before. But it
Right.
wasn't interesting. I wasn't really solving problems.
Okay.
I was just mapping out a process.
Give it to
Someone
someone.
says we want to do this, and you say, okay, what are the rules? What are the things that you need to get right for this to happen? Then you map out a process. So that's what we were doing.
Okay.
I was bored, mindless,
Yeah.
right? So then they moved me from that into a strategy role. So I then worked in strategy for a while. At that time, South Africa was still thinking about the Gautrain.
Oh.
So we worked in strategy to say, well, how can the bank benefit from where the Gautrain would be? That was one. And secondly, it was South Africa was also building special economic zones.
Okay.
Then the bank was looking, what are the opportunities for the bank when you're looking at special economic zones, especially from a retail banking perspective, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things we looked at is wherever the Gautrain stations would be, you would need to consider having a retail, like a shopping center.
Yep.
So wherever there's a station, there should be shopping center. That would have an impact on, where people live.
Yeah.
You might start thinking about around the stations where you should look at residential property,
Right.
etc.
Right.
Even with the special economic zones, the special economic zone is here. People have to work there, so you need a whole residential thing. So now you can start thinking about developing land
Right.
that could then provide services for this. You need a shopping center, you need
Whole
school.
ecosystem, right?
Exactly. So that's what we then looked at in terms of opportunities that we could look at.
Yeah.
And then while I was doing that, and I was enjoying that, by the way, then I got headhunted.
Oh.
I then went and joined BP.
Okay. You've worked for BP.
Yeah.
How come I never saw that on your thing?
It's on my LinkedIn. If you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see I was an asset economist, but before that, I was
Right.
worked in strategy at BP.
Right.
So I went and joined BP, which was really amazing, actually. If you ask me the best company I've ever worked
That's
for,
BP.
that was BP. Of
Shout out
all the companies
BP.
I've worked for, BP was the best. And the reason it was the best was because they really paid attention to personal development.
And you're very big on that.
And that for me was really quite important because my career progressed because of the emphasis on personal development. Most kids now, they start a job and they think they've arrived and they don't work on themselves. And what then happens is that they get stagnant
Yeah.
and they can't move anywhere and they get stuck for a very long time. You'll find someone becomes like someone goes into law and instead of really working on themselves as a person, they get stuck doing the same thing forever.
Over and over
And they
again.
don't, explore, they don't do different things, they get stuck. If you ask them, so what do you want to do with your life? I just want to do this. And
Probably
they're like,
don't know, yeah.
but there's so much more.
Yeah.
And I think when I look at my life, it's always been like the world's your playground, which is what my name means actually.
Oh,
So
Zwelibanzi.
Zwelibanzi means the world's your oyster. I believe
Wow.
it means the world's your playground.
Wow.
right? So
It figures now,
Yeah.
because we will talk about the importance of travel, which you have done so much of.
yeah,
But just getting back to how important it is you could do anything in this world.
and that's the thing. The world's your oyster. No one limits you what you can do. It doesn't mean if you studied law or you studied engineering or you studied medicine that's where you're stuck.
I mean, I studied law. Look at what I'm doing as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I studied engineering. I'm not an engineer.
I mean, look at that. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, and a university degree only proves one thing, that you can commit to something for 4 years and you can reproduce enough information to pass,
Right.
and that you at least have a sharp mind that can pass. That's it.
That's it.
But it doesn't mean anything else because you haven't done anything. You've just got a degree,
Fresh out, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything else. You might be getting your degree cum laude, but you haven't done anything still. And we get so fixated on, but I studied law, I studied this, and we think that's all you can do. But
Yeah.
the world is your oyster. You can do anything you set your mind to. And that's the one thing that I learned at BP, that
Yeah.
I can do whatever. I joined BP, I worked in strategy. The number of projects that I worked on had absolutely nothing to do with what I studied. I did shipping. I did business development
Yeah.
in strategy. So one of the projects I had was I was looking at shipping routes around the coast of Southern Africa, how to optimize that. I worked on how to optimize logistics
Right.
for moving fuel. I mean, during those times, I used to spend a lot of time here in Botswana, funny enough.
Oh,
We used to
okay,
go to
okay.
Francistown because you guys have your strategic storage
Yes.
is in
down there.
Francistown.
Yeah.
So BP used to manage the strategic reserves on behalf of the country.
Is there like a full circle thing that I'm noticing here?
So I did that, and then from shipping to sorting out logistics, and then I ended up in Angola doing business development, going into new markets.
Right.
Then I ended up designing and building new tanks in Mozambique. It was really quite diverse, and I did so many different things. And I remember my boss, his name is Odoy Chibambo. He's still alive. I mustn't say was.
Yeah.
Odoy Chibambo. And there was an opportunity that came up,
Right.
and I wasn't interested in it because it was an engineering kind of job.
Mm.
And then he said to me, Zweli, if you want to move up the organization, you need to have
This is still a
broad-
BP, yes? Okay.
He says you need to have a broad understanding of what the business does.
Right.
Because if you have a broad understanding, when you move up, you need to know how all of these things link together, because you are making decisions about the full system, not about just one area.
Mm.
That's when I got interested in management.
Makes sense.
And then I got interested in leadership. And then at that time, he then suggested I should go and do an MBA, which at the time I thought I don't even qualify to do an MBA. I mean, I'm an engineer. An MBA sounds like a commerce thing.
It's like
maybe
a
for
businessy
people-
thing. Yeah.
It's for people with BComs and whatevers.
Yeah.
So I then went and registered for a postgraduate diploma because I thought I need a bridging course before I do this
Then
thing. right?
MBA, right,
Yeah.
right.
So I registered for that and I got accepted. I was
Oh.
excited that I got accepted. Great. Day after I got accepted, I get a phone call from the university. The head of the lady who was running the MBA program, well, the lady who was running the school, the programs at the business school, calls me and says, "Can we have a talk?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I walk in. She then says to me, "We've looked at your qualifications. We've looked at your marks. We think you're qualified to do an MBA." And then she asked me, "Why are you doing this postgraduate diploma?"
Postgrad, yeah.
I said, "Well, I thought that's the one I qualify for. I didn't think I qualified for the MBA." And then she says, "What if we put you in the MBA class? Would you object to that?" I was like, "No, I won't." So they put me in the engineering in that class. So I said to her, "But I haven't done my GMAT exam because you need to do a GMAT exam to be accepted into the MBA class."
Right.
So she then says, "Don't worry about the GMAT. You can always do it any other time." Till today, I've never done a GMAT exam.
So I was about to ask.
Right. I got in the class. I fit in the class and
Perfectly.
everything was
Glove and-
fine and
yeah.
everything was great. And then that was it.
I also sense a learning point right there, teachable moment where we just look at ourselves and we think we don't qualify for a lot of things.
Mm.
But certain people outside looking in, they're like, "Look, dude, you actually do qualify." What
Yeah.
what do you make of that when we downplay our qualifications, our lives, our capabilities, our skills?
Mhm.
And when we look in the mirror, it's like, "Nah, I don't think I'm good enough for this." But the people looking at you, and that's happened to me a lot, right? I've thought, especially when I have what I think in my mind is a sucky episode of the podcast, like, yeah, maybe I'm not as great as I think I am.
Yeah.
And then you go out there, you put the episode out there, people are like, "Oh my God, you might be a god at this thing."
Mhm.
But yeah, let me hear it from you. What do you make of just that thing? that we do as human beings?
We do that as people because we don't know the full value and the full, I wouldn't call it strength, but the full potential
Right.
of what we hold.
Right.
And because we don't know the full potential, we always downplay things. We always think, I'm not good enough for that. Let me do this. And maybe once I've done this and this, then I'll be good enough for that.
Right.
But sometimes you don't have to do this. You can go straight into something different. And it's also because of how we grow up. We know that they tell us that life is linear. You must do this, then this, then this, then that. Nobody tells you can skip stages, you can skip things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
because of that, you always think, but I can't qualify for that because I haven't done this first. And I haven't done this. And that has an impact on how we look at life in full.
In general, yeah.
Because in general, then you say, but I can't start a business because I don't know how to do this. I can't do this because I haven't done this before. And then we say, then I'm not going to do it. But when you really think about it, it's like I said earlier on, you have to suck at something before you become good at it. So you have to give yourself the opportunity to try. And that's something I learned in my career. So from the time I was at BP, after this experience with my MBA, every other opportunity that came to me, I didn't apply for. I was either asked to apply or I was asked to join the company.
Headhunted, right.
Right. And some of the roles that I was headhunted for, I didn't think I qualify.
Look at that.
But somebody looked at me and said, we think you can do this job. And that's why we're coming to talk to you, to ask you to come do this job. So the mirror reflects who you are. But sometimes it's the eyes that you use when you're looking at the reflection.
Okay, there's that moment one more time.
I didn't think that was so profound, but anyway.
Hey.
So the eyes you use when you're looking at your reflection determines what you think of what you're looking at.
Oh, you don't think that's profound? That is deep.
Well, I hadn't said that yet.
Okay. I jumped the gun.
So the eyes you use when you're looking at yourself determine what you think of yourself. So if you look at yourself and you see yourself as not being great, then you're not going to be great.
Of course.
But if you look at yourself and you think, damn, I'm the shits, then you will be.
Yeah.
Because you truly believe it. And if you go back to the principles in the Bible, which I think everything is based on what's in the Bible, right?
Cool.
I have 5 books, which are my favorite books, and the Bible is one of them.
Right.
And the first thing in the Bible that you see, first chapter, what does God say?
In the beginning?
In the beginning.
Yeah, God created.
God created.
Yeah.
But what did he create it with? With his word. It doesn't say he forged anything. It doesn't say he molded something. It said, in the beginning, God created the word. He said, let there be light, and there was light. He said this, and then there was this. That's what he did, right? And if you really think about it, and then he says, let us create man in our own image, right? When you get to that, you ask yourself the question, if we are creating man in our own image, what does that mean? That means you have the ability to do the things that God was able to do because you are created in his image. So if you really think about everything we have in this world, that came from somebody's mind because they saw it with the eye first. Before they saw it in their mind first before they saw it with the eye. Right? So the question is, when you look at yourself, what do you see? Because you have to see the future you before you become it.
Oh, is this going to be happening throughout the episode?
I don't know. Well, you ask the questions. I'm just answering. But generally, you become what you see. So the way that you see yourself and the way that you are is who you become, which is why I believe in personal development, because it's a personal development that makes you see yourself differently. Because we grow up in certain spaces and environments which sometimes are not great for your mind.
Not very conducive.
And then they shape who you become. They shape the person that you become, the way that you think, the way you see the world, the way you see yourself. And then because of the fact that you see yourself that way, you have to learn to unlearn the things that you learned when you were a child. And for you to unlearn that, you need to find new information that actually makes you not to see the world the same way you've always seen it. So you need exposure.
Yeah.
And where's that exposure? Through personal development.
I love
One of
that.
my favorite books is Dark Psychology,
Okay.
right? Not because it's a psychology book, but
Yeah.
really what it really talks about is how we see the world and how we do things. And when you read that book, you actually realize that a lot of things we do, it's because we've been conditioned.
Mm.
And you need to start thinking about how do you unlearn those things that you've been conditioned to do so that you can do things differently.
Right. Right.
Right. And it's free education. That's the
It
thing.
really is. It
It's
really
available
is.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can go buy a book at exclusive books. And now you've got a book that actually tells you about how to change your life. You just have to read a few pages.
Just a few pages,
Right.
you'll be good.
And sometimes you don't even read the whole book. You read halfway through the book and you're like, okay, I found what I need.
This is it.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you bring things like exclusive books because you've only been in Botswana for like a year and a half,
Yeah.
right? Because of work. And remember when I'd said, is this like a full circle thing? The stuff that you had been doing with BP,
Mhm.
Francistown, was possibly what, some good 4 or 5 years ago?
No, that was years ago.
That was years
I
ago?
might look young, but jeez, I'm an old
Hey.
buddy. That was 2004.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got confused then because I saw a picture of yours, possibly on one of your statuses,
Hmm.
where you have a picture of Gaborone from some 4 years
So
ago.
4 years ago, I came to Gaborone because I was doing work with SADC.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's what I saw.
Yeah, that's what you
And
saw.
then you were like, full circle thing, now you're here.
Yeah.
But my initial question really was, and we're going to go back to the BP thing
Mhm.
and then everything else that happened after that. How has it been so far? It's been a year and a half. You already know about exclusive books. What are
Well,
some
we've
of
got
the...
exclusive books back home.
I mean, you know where it is here, I'm sure.
Of course, I know because I
Yeah.
went to go buy a few books.
Yeah, but apart from that, what are some of the things you have
It's
also...
been interesting. So, Botswana has a very interesting dynamics.
Yeah.
Your social construct is very different from what we have in South Africa. There are a lot of similarities,
Of course.
but there's also a lot of differences.
Yeah.
Some good differences, some not so great differences. In the same way that there's not so great, right?
Right.
What I've learned about Botswana, which I wish, let me talk about the bad, so then we can talk about the good.
Okay.
Most businesses in Botswana, most entrepreneurs in Botswana,
Yeah.
they only think Botswana is the only market that they can be in.
Mm.
And if you just use numbers, Botswana's got 2.5 million people.
Yeah.
If I was to open a store that makes shoes in Botswana, I only have 5 million shoes to make because there's 2.5 million people only, right? But the SADC region has 350 million people.
Mm.
That means I can make 700 million shoes,
Oof.
right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it from that perspective, we have to learn to think big. We have to learn to think bigger than just Botswana.
Mm.
And this for me was the thing that I found very strange. Majority of people in Botswana have studied overseas.
Yeah.
They've studied abroad.
Right.
However, when they come back home and live home, they confine themselves to the borders of the
local
country
market.
in terms of what markets are available. And that's the one thing that I've noticed a lot. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot
Yeah.
of business people.
Yeah.
Not just business people. I've even spoken to young graduates and even some managers.
Mm.
And you ask them about the world. You ask them about every single thing they think about is, this is my limitation.
The
And that
borders.
takes me back to when I was in Standard 7.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Mm.
You know, when you're a kid, you have these funny, strange
Crazy
dreams,
dreams. Right.
I wanted to be an astronaut. So I remember sitting in a guidance class. I don't know what you call it here. Now in South
career
Africa, it's
guidance,
called
yeah.
life orientation now.
Yeah.
And so the teacher asked me, so what do you want to be? I said, I want to be an astronaut. And then he says to me, but you can't be an astronaut. I said, why? He says, because we don't have schools in South Africa that teach you how to be an astronaut. Right? So his thinking was limited to South Africa. So now that's the thinking that he then was passing on to me. to say you can't think
Because
beyond
that's his
South
duty,
Africa.
right? That's his responsibility as a teacher, right? Yeah.
Yes, to make you
Pass
think
on.
bigger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But because he, in his mind, his limits was South Africa. And I kind of maybe understand that he never believed that maybe a black kid could do that because we had
Right.
just come out of apartheid and, there was still that thing that white people are more superior and who are
Right.
you to go to America and learn how to
And
be an
do
astronaut,
that.
right? So maybe that was his limitation. But now he's passing on that limitation to me. A young kid who's impressionable, and if you tell him you can't do this, then he believes it's not possible.
Just killing the dreams,
Right,
just
it
like
kills
that.
the dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people do you know whose dreams are killed because they meet people and those people say, but this is the world you must live in this box, that nothing else exists outside of this box. And most of us are brought up that way, to believe this is it, there's nothing else. And because we haven't been exposed to anything else, we think that
We've got to
that's
believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing else. So if I look at so when I was when I was a kid, I told myself, okay, I will get a job. I will go to university, study whatever, get a job. I'm going to live in this neighborhood. So it was the only rich neighborhood I knew was Sunwood Park in Boksburg. I was like, I'm going to live in Sunwood Park. I'm going to live in this kind of house. I'm going to marry someone from my school,
Yeah.
or rather from my neighborhood or from my church. That's what
The locality, right?
that's what
Yeah.
my life was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I went to university, I then met with people from all over the world. I joined an international a society of international students because there was a hot girl and then I wanted to get close to this girl, so I joined the international society and then they accepted me, luckily, because well, I don't know why, but they accepted me anyway. So I joined the international society, and when I was in the international society, I got exposed to so many other people who were international. I got exposed to so many other people who had lived overseas and they've had different experiences, and I would ask them questions. I mean, I met a guy, his name was Unche. He was from Congo, right? Lived in Belgium, spoke French, came to South Africa not knowing how to speak a word of English, learned how to speak English in South Africa. And his life for me was amazing.
Wow.
Like, you've been to Belgium, you've been here. All I know is South Africa. In fact, this is my first time outside of my little city that I grew up in, right? And then I started having the desire to say, well, if other people have done this, why can't I do it?
Why can't I do it?
And then I started exploring. I started talking to more people, started wanting to do more.
Yeah.
And that gave me a picture of a world that I never knew existed, because all I knew was this box. And then that's what then blew my mind. Like, okay, now if I tell you, I've never lived in Sunwood Park ever.
Wow.
My first place, I lived in Pretoria. From Pretoria, I moved to Cape Town.
Right. That's it. Never went back.
Never went back. And from Cape Town, I moved to the
Yeah, they had too
UK.
much of that anyway, you know? Yeah, that was all you knew at that point.
But the thing is, you need to be open to new experiences.
Yeah.
And this is not just about where you live. It's about experiences in general. If you start a career, it doesn't mean you're going to end up doing whatever you're doing. Even in the workplace, people move around.
Yeah.
So you must be open to new opportunities, new experiences. But if you don't have that mindset that's open to that, you're never going to do that. You're going to stay wherever you are.
What do you think about fear? You know, because I think most people do not do that, even if they feel the itch in their heart to do it. The desire is there. But I think there's like a security thing that happens with what you've known forever, and it's comfortable. If
It's
I get out,
artificial fear.
yeah,
And here's why I say it's artificial fear.
right,
A human being is born with two fears when they're born: the fear of falling and the fear of loud things.
oh,
Every other fear that you have is learned fear.
the fear of falling and the fear of
The fear of loud
things.
noises.
Okay.
Those are the only two fears that we are born with. Everything else we fear is learned fear. So when people are scared of doing something, it's not that they're scared of that. They're scared of what if it fails. Because no one's scared of success, right?
No,
So-
give me more of that,
Yes.
you know?
So if someone is scared of failure, they won't start that new business. Someone's scared of failure, they won't try that new thing. If someone's scared of failure, they won't. Think of a single guy.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Perfect
Single-
example.
Perfect example. He
Yeah.
sees a girl he likes, right? He wants to walk over and ask her, "Hey, can I get your number?" or whatever,
right.
right? What's the worst thing that can happen? The girl can say no,
Rejection. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's the fear of that rejection. But what if she said yes?
Yeah. There's that too, right?
There's that too. But we live our lives based on things that may not happen rather than on the things that could happen, which are positive.
Okay. I'm feeling a moment.
So we make decisions sometimes based on what we fear rather than on what's possible. And what we fear is the fear of failure, not the success. And that's because it comes back to the question that when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you don't see yourself as a failure, you're more likely to go for the thing because you think I can possibly succeed. Henry Ford said, the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't, they're both right.
Okay. I mean, we just did that. So
So if you tell yourself you're going to fail, then you'll definitely fail.
the man who says he can and the man who says he can't are both right.
Yes. Because if you tell yourself you can, you can. If you tell yourself you can't, well, you can't.
Okay, so which I asked a few friends of mine on LinkedIn to ask questions, right?
Hmm.
But I'd wanted to ask this
I
question.
saw that and I asked very serious questions.
Yeah, very, very serious
Mm.
questions. So I want us to talk about the DBSA
The DBSA, yeah?
so that we just kind of channel that conversation into some of these questions that they asked.
Mm-hmm.
DBSA into what you currently are now,
At the
SADC
DFRC.
DFRC, right?
Yeah.
So when does BP end, and then when does DBSA start, and when does that end as well?
There's a whole journey between the two.
Jesus Christ! Oh, should we just skip to DBSA? Because I'm interested in that.
This is important. This is a very interesting thing. So when I finished my MBA
Yeah.
at BP, so
Right.
I moved from strategy, I moved into refining,
Okay.
right? And I became an asset economist,
Oh,
right? So an asset economist is a person that decides what crude oil to buy, which finished products to make based on the configuration of the refinery and how much money you can make. So the idea is to optimize refining margins so that you can make as much money as you possibly can for the refinery.
Right.
But you have a few things that you have to balance: the price of crude, the price of product, the demands, etc. So you have to manage all of that while you are doing that, right? So that's what I was doing, right? Which, by the way,
Cool stuff, right?
Very interesting
Cool
stuff.
stuff, yeah.
I got to learn about trading. I got to learn about crude oil. I got to learn about countries. That's where the first time I actually got to leave African continent, because I'd traveled around Africa in my previous job at BP.
Okay.
And in this job, I then traveled to the UK, traveled to Spain, traveled to the Netherlands, traveled to the US,
Right.
because of the work that we were doing, right? Amazing thing. That's where I got even more exposure to say, okay,
Right.
this is how the other side lives. Right. So I finished my MBA. In fact, I wasn't even finished. I was still doing my MBA.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on campus. We're doing an assignment, and Epsacap Barclays were having a talk, like a recruitment drive. Right. I wasn't even interested, but I was hungry, and they had
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Right. So you just had to sit through the hour, and then when the hour's finished, there's food.
Right.
Right. So I went and sat there, ate listened to the hour. It was interesting. I wasn't even interested in joining Absa Capital.
Yeah.
Then we went to go eat. So while we're eating, I'm standing next to the head of trading. And then obviously I'm like, okay, I can't stand to this guy. He's influential. I should ask him something.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, yeah.
Like, I always am interested in what people have to say.
Right.
Right. So I asked him questions. I asked him, so tell me more about trading. I'm only been exposed to trading crude oil. This is what I do. And I work with the traders. They trade crude oil and they trade finished products. But how is trading different in the bank versus where I am? And then
Very important question, right?
and then the guy was explaining to me, no, this is, and he lied to me, by the way. He said, no, it's not very different. You still get to do similar stuff and blah, blah, blah. It would actually be interesting and blah, blah, blah. And you can come and work with us and do commodities trading. I was like, okay, interesting. I forgot about that conversation. I left that night, went back to work,
Yeah.
forgot about the conversation I had with Mr. Baggins.
Yeah.
And A week later, was it the same week? Could have been a week later or the same week. I got a phone call from the university. They say, Epsa would like to have a chat with you. I was like, okay. I didn't know it was an interview, right? So they said, okay, can you come to campus on this day at this time? So luckily, the BP offices were right across the road from the UCT business school.
Okay.
So I walk across to meet BP.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm not even wearing a tie or a suit or anything
Goodness.
because that's not how we dressed, right?
Right.
Where I worked. So I walk across and I sit there. The guy I'm supposed to meet misses his flight in Joburg.
Oh my God.
So now I'm sitting with another guy who is not the guy I'm supposed to meet. So I sit with him. Now he has to talk to me because now I'm here.
I mean, yeah.
So we talk high level. He asked me about what I do. He asked me about what I studied, etc. He'd actually never asked me if I would be interested in working for Absa Capital. And then that was it. I went back to work. I was confused. Like, what was this all about? I went back to work, came back from work. I went to work. The next day, I get a phone call to say, you've made it to the second round of interviews. I was like, what interview? I didn't go for an interview.
Second round for that matter.
Yeah. And they said, we're flying you to Joburg for interviews. Being the person I am, I didn't say no.
Curious and
like,
very,
okay, let's go figure out what this thing
What's
is.
this? Yeah.
And I went. And the lesson there was sometimes you find yourself in places where you never expected, where the door is opened for you. And you still have to walk through it, but you have to be curious enough to walk through that door. How many places have we found ourselves with doors open for us and you're not even curious enough to look what's inside? Most of us don't.
Too many times, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the opportunity is right there in front of you. The door's open, but you don't go through it. You don't even look what's inside. So I decided to look what's inside. And I got called to Joburg. We did a whole interview thing. It was over 3 days. They put us up at the Western. It was called the Western. No, it's not called the Four Seasons. Beautiful hotel. Beautiful.
Proper.
Oh, gosh,
Proper.
The hotel is proper.
Mwah.
So they put us up there for a few days. I was just happy I was in a massive, beautiful hotel. I was like excited about being at that hotel. And then we did all these exercises. They made us do teamwork stuff.
Yeah.
And then I went back. And then a week later, I was told, you've got the job.
You made it.
But you have to move to London.
You have to move to London.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a conundrum?
Yes, it was a conundrum because I was just about to get married.
Oh.
Right. So my wife, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
had just moved to Cape Town to be with me because I had proposed.
Ah.
Right. And now our wedding was going to be in August. And it was in August, at the end of August, on the 26th of August. And on the 1st of August, I get told, you got the job, but you have to move to London.
When do you have to move to London?
Luckily, it wasn't immediately.
Okay.
I only had to move to London in January.
Okay, so August can happen.
Yes.
And then, okay.
So August, I get married. I spent the rest of the year with my wife. January, I leave for London. And she stays in Cape Town. So now I'm married, living in two different cities.
And you just got married. Yeah.
Not just two different cities, two different continents. It was tough because I had never really been in a proper long distance relationship until then.
Yeah.
Before that, my wife was at the time she was my girlfriend. She was in Joburg. I was in Cape Town. It's like 2-hour flight.
You could easily fly.
You could easily fly in on a Friday, come back on a Sunday very easily. Now I'm in a completely different continent. I can't just decide I'm coming home for the weekend. Right? So we then decide she moves with me then
to London, right?
To London.
Right.
But anyway, to get to BP.
Yes.
So I leave at BP and I joined at Barclays in London.
Barclays, yeah.
I spent time at Barclays in London. They offer me a job to stay in London.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a training program, and then after the training program, I was supposed to come back to South Africa. So get offered a job to stay in London. tempted to take it. And guess what happened? My wife decides to leave me in London. She says she hates it. So she came to join me, I think it was about 3 or 4 months after I
Right.
moved to London.
Right.
She then came to join me. She stayed for 2 months. She hated it. July, she says, I'm going.
Right. Okay.
So I moved back to SA. I work on the trading floor. Now, remember, when I joined Barclays, I was told I was going to trade commodities. South Africa doesn't really trade commodities.
Oh yeah.
Right? I don't know now, but when I was on the trading floor, we didn't really trade commodities.
Okay.
We were like a post office, post box. The requests would come, you send them to London. They do the trade, you get the pricing, you get the price back, you send it. That's what it was.
Conveyor belt or something.
So I then was put on the inflation desk. So I was trading inflation, which, by the way, was really amazing. I had a guy called Andrew Dickens, passionate about that. And he believed in my ability to do certain things, which I never believed in.
Yeah.
And we built up the inflation desk together. But the whole time I was on the trading floor, I was restless because I looked around me and I think this is where I messed up with the whole trading. I looked around me and I looked at what people had been doing. And I would ask, so how long have you been trading? Someone would tell me I've been doing it for 10 years. And then I said, so I'm going to be doing this for 10 years. And then once you've been doing it for 10 years, you can't move anywhere else really, because that's all you know. Right?
Right.
And I was like, but I'm not remember I told you my passion was solving problems.
Yeah.
On the trading floor, you're not solving any
You're not
problems.
really doing that. Yeah.
You're just looking to buy low, sell high. And I just lost interest. Literally the first year I started trading, I lost interest. I did okay in my first year. I was getting into it. I was excited at the time. And then I lost interest, like completely.
Yeah.
So I just used to come to work, just do what I'm doing because, well.
But no excitement right there.
There was no excitement. And I think it showed towards the end of my trading life because I started looking around to say, where can I go?
Right.
And then luckily, I went and spoke to someone on the project finance side. And then they said, oh, yeah, and you've got an energy background. And then the then CEO, John Vitalo, said, oh, it's a great opportunity. You've been in trading. Now you're in coverage. When you're speaking to clients on that side, you can speak about something because you understand how the products work. And that's what you need. So I was like, oh, okay, that's great.
Right.
Now at least I'm working with clients. I can solve problems for clients. And that what makes sense for me. So I moved across to the oil and gas and energy team.
Yeah.
And I worked with the guys there. But then I got bored because I spent less than a year in that team. Actually, no, I spent a whole year.
Okay.
I then got bored. And the reason I got bored was the job was really about making money.
Right.
And there was no making an impact and solving real problems.
Which is what is very important to you.
Which
right?
for me
More
was very important.
Right.
And then I get a call from a friend of mine on the desk. He says, hey, I saw there's this company that's looking for engineers with a finance background. You might fit. So I was like, no, send the thing to me. He sends me the thing. The closing date has passed.
Already.
So guess what? I looked at it. The closing date had passed. I put together my CV and I sent it anyway.
What's informing your decision to do that? What's it going on in your mind?
I never believed doors shut. It doesn't matter. A person can say no to me 500 times. I will go back because I believe there's a chance. As long as there's a chance, it could happen.
I like that.
So I sent my CV anyway.
Yeah.
And then after this is after the closing date. I think it was like 2 weeks after the ad had closed. And then I sent my CV anyway. And then I got called for an interview. And then I got the job.
There's a thing they call grace as well. When we speak spiritually and from the Bible.
Yeah.
It looks like and seems like you've just really been operating under a lot of grace. Like doors are closed. I mean, there's this expiry date, deadlines. You sent it, and people are still calling you.
It is. I won't say it's because of my own doing. Yes,
Yeah,
God had an arm and a hand in everything that's happened in my life. he opened doors which were closed,
Of course.
and he closed doors
Yeah.
which should have been closed.
Mm.
Because I remember I applied for a job. The second last job that I applied for, besides this one,
Yeah.
I applied for a job at Morgan Stanley, but one of the big banks in investment
yeah.
banking.
Right.
I went to that interview. They asked me a question which I knew the answer to, but I couldn't answer the question.
Oh.
After that, I sat, when I left the interview, I was like, why couldn't I answer this question? Because I
Right.
know the answer to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a technical question. It was about how you calculate I remember till today because it haunts me sometimes to say,
It's
why
like,
couldn't I answer
do
this
that?
question?
Yeah.
It was essentially how to calculate the discount rate when
Yeah.
you're doing a DCF discount rate valuation for a
Okay.
company,
Okay.
and how do you then calculate the WACC, which
I'm
is
gonna
the
have to
weighted,
learn
which is
that
the weighted
tonight.
average cost of capital,
Oh, cool. Cool.
right? They asked me that question and I couldn't answer, even though I knew the answer,
Shucks.
because I mean that's what I was doing at the bank,
The whole time.
right?
Yeah.
I couldn't answer the question. And if you ask me why I couldn't answer the question, I can't tell you. And I truly believe that God
Yeah.
was closing that door because it's not a door I needed to walk through.
Mm.
You see, sometimes a no in life is a good thing.
And we don't always view it that way.
Because sometimes a no is God saying that door you don't need to walk through. Sometimes you are in a relationship with someone and they hurt you so badly and consistently. And it's a sign that you must walk away because that's not the thing for you.
Mm.
But what do? You stick
You
around.
stay in there.
Because you are not allowing the no to really be true. And sometimes you apply for a job and they say no. And then you get upset and you get angry, but maybe that's not the job for you. Maybe
Mm.
if you went through that door, you would have fallen off a cliff. But you don't know that.
Yeah.
And sometimes God has to close some doors so that you don't walk through them because he knows that that's not good for you.
Right.
And then he keeps the doors open for you, which are the doors that are aligned to your journey and your purpose.
In your destiny.
Right.
Right.
But what do? We look at someone else walking through a door and we think that's the door I want to walk through. But that's not your door. That's their door, yes. It's not your door. And what do? You keep banging on the door, which is not for you. Eventually, if you bang hard enough, someone will open the door.
Hey, voila.
Right?
And then you end up at the wrong
and then
place.
you'll
Yeah.
end up at the wrong place anyway. So I've always believed that if a door closes, at some point you have to accept that it's closed and walk away.
Mm.
And there's no shame in that. Whether it's a relationship,
Yeah.
whether it's people in your life, whether it's work, whether it's business opportunities,
Right.
sometimes you just have to walk away. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's not your portion. That's not your path. That's someone else's path, not your own.
I love that.
But we're too scared to do it.
We just want the door open.
We want the door
all
open,
the time.
but it's not your door.
So okay.
The door that's yours, you don't even look through.
We're going back to looking into the doors.
Yes.
And it's right there.
It's right there, and you don't look through it because you're looking at someone else's door because it looks shiny.
Man. We complicate things that are not even complicated in this life, right?
We complicate our own lives because we want things. This weekend, I went through an experience where. So there are a few people that I'd met in Botswana.
Yeah.
And I'd been forming good relationships with them.
Yeah.
And
you're welcome, Zweli.
And so I invited these people to an event. And mind you, even though it was it doesn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
But I invited these people to the event.
Yeah.
And some people showed up and some people didn't.
Okay.
Right. And then I got home on Saturday and I was asking myself, okay, let's evaluate this. What are the circumstances? I didn't care why they didn't show up because no one said anything.
Right.
I asked myself the question, is this a door that I'm trying to force open? And this door is shut? Or is this a door that should remain shut? And I had to think and evaluate. And sometimes you find yourself, and the thing is, we don't reflect sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't sit
Yeah,
and reflect,
yeah,
and
no.
something happens. And then here's the funny thing: I was not angry of the fact that they didn't come. In fact, when we got to the venue, the guy who was more worried about whether they were coming or not was a person hosting the event
Oh,
than I was.
right.
Because literally, I got to the venue, I switched off my phone, and I sat and I was like, I'm here to enjoy myself and have fun
Presence as well.
and be present fully.
Yeah.
I did not look at my phone, probably maybe once or twice, but the whole time I did not look at my phone because it was off. And I wasn't even looking at my phone because I was looking at messages, but I was looking at my phone because we had a conversation and someone asked me something that I needed to look for
up. Yeah.
in my phone.
Right.
Right. But I wasn't angry at the fact that they didn't pitch.
Right.
But it was, for me, a moment of reflection, of being able to think, is this a door that should be closed and I've been banging on it? Or is this a door that I've been hoping to be open and I've been running towards it? And then I had to make a decision. Do I keep those doors open?
Or
do I close them? Or do I go look somewhere else? And this is the same thing that happens with our careers. You're in a job, you hate your job, and there's no prospect for growth, and you stay in the job. Maybe that's because you went through a door that wasn't for you. That you walked through that door because it looked open and you kicked it down so you can get in. And now you're in it and you realize, it's not for me. Maybe that's when you need to stop and reflect and say, okay,
is this
I'm
working
here
or
now.
not? Yeah.
It's not working out. Should I be looking at something else? But how often do we stop and reflect?
We don't do that.
I mean, how many people go home and after a week and say, okay, let's do a stock take. What happened
Do
this
you guys
week?
do that? Like reflect and stuff? Yeah? I've only started doing that lately. I was telling you there's like an enlightenment going on in my life moment. But yeah, the majority of us.
We do that. And that's where you grow the most, when you stop and reflect. Because you start looking at, okay, I had this situation. How did I handle it? What could I have done differently to not be in this situation? And that's what you then have to do. And every single aspect of your life, when do you stop and reflect about your career? When do you stop and reflect about the relationships you have? When do you stop and reflect about the kind of friends you have? When do you stop and reflect about your faith, your money, your habits? You can't grow if you don't stop and reflect, because you need to know where you are.
Yeah, of course.
And where you want to go.
Yeah.
So if you don't know where you want to go, it's like playing darts, but you blindfolded. So everywhere you shoot, that's the
target.
That's the target, right?
Right.
Or playing darts without a dartboard.
That is crazy.
That's even the worst,
That's
because
the
they've got no
worst.
purpose. You just throw
That's the worst.
where it lands, wherever it lands. Oh, great, that's where I wanted it. But that's not how you should live your life. You know, the Bible says you should live your life purposefully. With intent.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't. We just let life happen. And then we wonder, why do we find ourselves in the kind of situations that we find ourselves in?
I gotta go to that LinkedIn. Otherwise, my people are gonna.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
They're gonna shout at me like, "Why would you have us?" Okay, so where's that thing? Such a cool thing that I was just trying out for the first time. You know, I have a crazy, amazing guest, a leader, and because obviously people do not have access to you as much as they would love, because obviously structurally that might not be as possible as they want, but they can do that through some of these questions on LinkedIn. And I thought, hey, why not?
Yeah.
So first off, I actually have to shout them up, because I have to make sure we mention them on LinkedIn. This one is from Chedza Pelailo. So shout out going out to Chedza Pelailo. Thank you very much for asking this question. Directed to Zweli. So question is, looking at the work of the SADC DFRC, what would you point to as your single most impactful intervention? Could you walk me through a specific project or initiative? What's changed as a result, and why you consider that impact meaningful in the broader Southern African development community context?
Sure.
So also say hi to Chedza.
Chedza, you must be a professor. You ask difficult questions. So I've been in the job for 18 months, right?
Yep.
And the things that we do at SADC, and the kind of work that we do, you don't see results immediately. It takes time, right? Even if you start a project, it only really shows results at a later stage. It's
Yeah.
like infrastructure. If you're
Right.
going to build a power plant, it doesn't take 6 months. It takes
Mm.
time to build a power plant, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if I go to the work that we do within the SADC Secretariat, and I mean SADC DFRC, and I think we need to make a distinction
Okay.
between SADC Secretariat and
And the
SADC
DFRC.
DFRC. Because I looked at some of those questions and I was like, some of these are actually more SADC Secretariat questions than DFRC.
Right.
But what the DFRC does is that we work with the development finance institutions within the region,
Yes.
right? And we do 4 things. One is we capacitate these, and this was a very brilliant idea by the ministers of finance 20 years ago. They were looking at how do we mobilize funds for economic development in the region. We have development finance institutions
Yeah.
that actually play the role of development,
Yeah.
right?
And funding.
And how do we use them more effectively?
Okay.
And how do we make sure that we can actually learn from that they can learn from each other and be more effective?
Mm.
Then they created the DFI network.
Okay.
Then from that, they then created the DFRC, which is then supposed to coordinate the network.
Mm.
But as part of the DFRC was how do you then do capacity building so that these DFIs can do their jobs even better so they can create
Cool.
a bigger impact. So
Cool.
that's the first step that we do. The second thing that we do is how do we harmonize policies within the region and create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs to thrive, to create an enabling environment for investment to be attracted, to
Right.
create an enabling environment for infrastructure to actually exist.
Right.
So for that, we do policy research. So we do research
Mhm.
and then we influence policy based on research.
Right. Right.
So it's not just, I think we should do this. And
No, the research has got to
but
support
the
that.
research supports actually the policy interventions that we look at. The third thing that we look at is resource mobilization. How do
Right.
we mobilize resources
Mm.
for the region, for projects,
Okay.
and for the DFIs, right? And how do we raise the money? And funny enough, most people say the money is not there. We have so much money in Africa, so much money
think
in
so
this
too.
region. In Botswana alone, there is so much money that's available for development, but we don't tap into it,
Oh.
right? So how do we mobilize that money and make it available to actually grow the country,
Mm.
right? So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is how do we create a pipeline of bankable projects
Right.
that will actually have impact in the region,
Okay. Okay.
right? That's the other thing we do.
So with bankable, are you looking at what? The risk and stuff?
So you
Or-
look at the risk, you look
Okay,
at
Okay.
Can this project be a standalone project and be able to fund itself and be able to
Right.
sustainable,
Right.
and can it borrow money and be able to pay back the money, and still be able to make a return for the investors, etc. So you look at
Cool.
all of that.
Cool.
You look at how do you de-risk it so that the project is properly de-risked, so
Yeah.
that you can actually get investors interested, etc. And you can actually mobilize money on the
Right.
back of that project. So that's what we do as well. And funny enough, the work I did at DBSA and the work I do here is linked because at DBSA I used to manage a fund.
Mm.
Well, one of my jobs was managing a fund. So I had a big, okay, let me not call it big. Maybe some people will think it's big, but for me it's not big.
Yeah.
So I was developing infrastructure programs to be able to deliver infrastructure with speed and at scale. Which,
Right.
by the way, is something that Botswana needs, because if I listen to what the ministers talk about, when you listen to the NDP and you
Yes.
listen to the plans and the things, which are great plans, by the way, the NDP I think is a marvelous initiative, and the marvelous outcomes of the projects that have come
Yeah.
out of that.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, if you want to do this at scale, you can't do it project by project. You have to create a program that actually then can be able to then in the program have multiple projects that you can
Oh,
then
running
do
under it. Right.
all at the same time
Right.
with speed and be able to mobilize resources for that. So that's what I
Cool.
used to do,
Cool.
right, at DBSA. And as a side gig almost, I also then managed funds.
Mm.
So one of the funds that I managed was a project preparation fund for the SADC region, which is why 4 years ago, when you saw the picture on that's when I came
makes
here
sense
for
now.
that, right?
Makes sense now.
So one of the projects I started working on while I was at
DBSA.
BP,
right.
DBSA,
Right. Right.
while I was at DBSA, which then kind of followed me almost to when I was in Botswana, was this PPDF fund that I was responsible for.
Mm.
And within the PPDF fund, there's a few projects that we did in Botswana. One of
Okay.
them is in Ramotswa. The water scheme project that we did in Ramotswa
Ah.
was actually one that we funded through through this fund that I was managing, right?
Yeah.
We also did a project in by the Kazungula Bridge. There's a water project that we did there as well.
Cool.
Also, with the water fund and the fund I managed, we managed to do a project there as well.
Shout out.
So
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. And the thing is about these projects is that they're not just about money, they're also about bringing development. The
Yes.
people in Ramotswa now will be able to get water. The project is still in construction. There's still quite a lot that they're doing, but we'll be able to get fresh water, clean water, and hopefully affordable water as well, right? The people there by the border in Kasane and Kazangula
That strip, yeah.
will now also have proper water with proper water treatment plants, etc., etc.
So more than financing,
So
development is great. Yeah.
Development finance is more about it's not just about the money.
Yeah.
It's also about how do you use the money to create development. That's what it's really about. It's supposed to benefit the many, not just the investors. And that's what it actually is about.
I like that.
So to answer her question, there are projects that I took with me from DBSA that we are still involved in and a part of right now, like the project in Ramotswa.
Yeah.
There's a big project now that we are supporting, which is in Botswana, the PPP thing. So
partnership,
we've actually provided input to the paper that's going to be tabled at Parliament.
Great.
In June, July. We provided input to that. We've currently I'm working with the Education Infrastructure Management Company, which was set up by the president last year, to actually figure out how do we then find a solution for and create an investable infrastructure program to scale the maintenance of school and the building up school and upgrading of schools so that you can have good infrastructure for education.
Yeah, that's going to be big.
And these are just projects in Botswana I'm talking about. We obviously are in 16 different member state countries within the SADC state. So we do projects all over.
I love it. All right. So we're going to move on to the next one because we have a few of them. And
okay.
So Tato Demi Donald. Hi, Tato Demi Donald. She says, SADC's development finance institutions collectively hold billions in capital. Yet, climate-vulnerable countries like Botswana remain chronically underfinanced for adaptation. What is the single biggest structural barrier preventing DFIs in this region from deploying patient, concessional capital at scale, and what would it take to remove it?
Government and the willingness to make things
Government
different.
and the willingness.
And creating an enabling environment for that money to flow.
Right.
Like I said to you, the money's there in the continent.
Yeah.
But for the money to flow, you need an enabling environment for that money to be able to flow.
Right.
If you think about Botswana, how big is your pension fund pool in Botswana? I don't know the exact number, but it's huge, right? Yet Botswana has an infrastructure backlog. Why can't you use pension money to unlock the infrastructure? The one I'm very glad that this is a project that has become a very important project in Botswana, the A1.
Yes.
How much traffic goes on the A1? Plenty, right?
Yeah.
And Botswana is like a conduit between Zambia and South Africa for minerals, between Zimbabwe and Namibia, between Zambia and Namibia, between Zambia and Angola, to be able to get minerals outright to the ports. You have this huge A1 infrastructure road, which in my view should be upgraded so that you can actually carry more volume,
right?
And that you can then actually also then look at how do you then build it using local money. How do you make sure it's sustainable? How do you look at issues like climate finance and the impact of what the road would have on the climate and resilience and all of those things? And the money's there. Pension funds are looking for projects that are long-term. Banks will only give you loans for 7 years. DFIs may give you for longer, but in Botswana, your DFIs are not massive, right? So they don't have the kind of capital to do like mega projects, right? But you've got pension funds.
Yeah.
So think about this pipeline. DFI does the de-risking.
Okay.
They de-risk the project. They do the project preparation, the early stage development. They put the first loss guarantee.
Right.
Banks then provide the commercial loan, which is normally about a 7-year loan or 5-year loan. They hardly ever get to 10 because that's considered long tenor it's not what they would want to do. Pension funds can take 20-year debt. A toll road is a 20 to 25-year project because once you've built the road, you just have to maintain it. And for 25 years, you've got life of this road, right? Why can't you get the DFIs to de-risk? the commercial banks to fund the middle bit for the 7 years. And then you refinance using pension fund and institutional investors who are in any case looking for long-term assets that can give them an inflation protection and some return.
Right.
And that's what a toll road project would actually do. So now if you look at the A1, you could actually have a very beautiful road, very well maintained by private sector on a PPP basis. And in fact, you could, with the volume of traffic on that road, you might even not need to have the passengers and the citizens actually pay a toll. You could charge the toll purely to the trucks and the logistics companies, and you'd still be able to make enough so that the citizens are not burdened with then having to pay a toll, as an example.
Wow.
So
there's got to be a willingness there.
Yeah, there needs to be a willingness, and the constraint is not that the DFIs cannot release the money. The constraint is the government's creating that enabling environment for them to be able to release the money.
I can't wait to see what your input into the paper is for the Parliament June and July. I'm getting a sense that this might even come up as a suggestion to do this for the government and open up.
No, we didn't speak about specific projects. We spoke about the legislation that you need to have in place for you to be able to unlock PPPs.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Lovely. All right. I got Monica Dube Sequela. Hi, Monica. Thank you very much for your question. She says, hello, Zweli. Oh, we didn't say hi to Demi.
Tato.
To Tato Demi, yeah.
Tato. Great question, by the way.
Great question. Now we got to say hi to Monica. Hey, Monica. So she says, hello, Zweli. As someone who works closely with women founders across African growth markets, I would love to know, what would you say are the top things women-led businesses need to get right to be truly finance ready and position themselves to access development finance resources? So are you really working with women founders
we
across
do,
African? Yeah?
But the misconception is that women businesses have problems that are not same as male businesses. But the problems are the same.
Okay.
The only thing is that there's this notion that there's no funding that goes towards women. And I don't think it's necessarily that there's no funding towards women businesses. I think most of the time is the being brave to go for opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I've seen. Think about women in careers. Women are less likely to apply for jobs that they think they don't qualify for than men.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to apply for a job they don't qualify for.
Right.
Whereas women think more carefully about applying for a job that they don't qualify for.
Right.
So they don't put their name in the hat. Right. So the funding is there. Because when you're evaluating a project, you don't evaluate the sex of the founder of the business.
No.
You evaluate every single project on its merit. And it just so happens that it's skewed towards men because there are more men doing certain things than there are women doing certain things.
Right.
So when I say, and I'm not saying that women don't have their own challenges that they have to deal with, et cetera, they do exist. One very big problem that women founders, especially if they are the key man risk, is the fact that people would look, how old is the woman?
Right.
Are they married? Do they have children? When are they most likely to give birth and be away from the business and all of those things and the timing of that, etc. Those are real realities that we have to deal with, which I think are a bit unfair for women because they have to now carry that burden which men don't carry.
Yeah.
Because no one ever looks at you as a man when you apply for a job and think, hey, this one's going to get pregnant in a month and they will be gone for 4 months. They don't think about that. But when a woman applies for a job, there are those issues that are there, right? So, and I'm not advocating for that. We should get rid of women-funded projects or funds to support women. I think we do need that because we need to push the number of women that are in the mainstream marketplace, right?
Right.
So we do need to have that. But the problems that women businesses have and that male businesses have are the same.
Oh, they're the same, right?
Yes.
Right.
Access to market, whether you're a woman or a man, you have the same problem. Access to finance, both of them have the same problem. And I think when we stop looking at these problems, or these are women problems, these are men problems, we actually will be able to find solutions for them.
Yeah.
And that for me is the biggest thing. It's the same as when we say there are things women don't go through that men go through, it's like, but actually, yes, there may be, but if you really think about it, there are things that everyone goes through, and if you fix those things, you actually create an opportunity for women as well when you fix those
When you
things in
fix
general,
on a
because there are
yeah,
structural problems that you
holistically.
need to fix.
Right.
So I don't always think that there are problems which we have to solve from a financing perspective, which are specific to women. Maybe it's having more women directed funds to say
Yeah.
we are creating more funds to support women's
For this,
businesses,
yeah.
and that would be for the sole purposes of women, of ensuring that women know that they can apply for these funds, and that we've created a special fund which
Yeah.
will only fund women projects, so that there can be that thing where women can feel like there is hope, there's somewhere where I can go to.
So
But
one thing they could get right is to get their names in the hat.
yes,
Throw yourself in there.
I would like to see more women being brave, more braver. I would like to see more women actually putting their
Love that.
name in the hat and saying, I'm here, let me be counted as well.
Cool.
And the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And
the doors are there just for
the doors are there.
for
You
them
just
to
need
look into
open.
it. Yeah.
And the thing is, women don't. Here's one problem that exists. Women should not think they need to behave like men for their businesses to thrive.
I saw a post
God
like that.
created you as a woman for a reason. You have attributes that a woman has that a man doesn't have.
I cannot resist.
Can
this,
you
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
a negotiation where you have a man and how that negotiation goes, and a negotiation where there's a woman and a man? The woman is normally calmer. The man might be aggressive, but the woman is calm, and they bring a sense of calmness and a sense of people being able to stop and think.
Yeah.
And sometimes us as men, we just bulldoze. And sometimes we don't think about the consequences, but the woman will stop and think about the consequence, which you need, by the way.
Yeah, of course, the consequence. Yeah, yeah.
And then now, if a woman tries now to be the man and they become aggressive in the conversation, what are you bringing that is different from what's already there? You have attributes as a woman which are special, and you should need to bring those into the room. So don't try and be a man. You can be successful as a woman if you know how to really use the attributes that you have to actually, and I'm not talking about attributes about playing,
yeah, of course.
you know, I'm talking about real attributes, like being able
attributes.
to be calm, being able to think through things, being able to think beyond the now, and those kind of things.
I have just on the point of women just having to be women and it could work. I have a lady here whose post I long saved from 7 months ago. Shout out Kushata Chilisa. I don't know if you know her.
No, I don't.
But she says, in my early corporate days, I noted how it seemed that most women felt they had to prove they belonged to, I noted how it seemed that most women felt they had to prove they belonged by toughening up. The dark and muted suits, the straight faces, the constant need to appear unshakable. It was as if softness had no place in success. I used to wonder if they were truly happy behind the polished armor, or if they had had to sacrifice their femininity to fit the corporate mold. Thankfully, as I became a leader, I found my own rhythm which embraces my femininity. I stopped trying to blend in and started showing up as myself, feminine, warm, and grounded. I truly feel my strongest when I'm dressed in pinks, purples, and florals. I have learned that strength and gentleness don't have to compete. They can complement each other. To the women still finding their balance in the corporate world, we can be both soft yet strong, kind yet commanding. Go out there and lead softly, but lead surely.
I love that.
Perfect to
That's
your point.
very perfect to
Perfect
that
to your
point.
point. Yeah.
Women need to bring themselves fully and not try to be men.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what creates diversity. That's the reason why we say we want diversity, right?
Yeah.
We want diversity of thinking,
Yeah.
diversity of skills. So if I'm bringing a woman into a room, right, full of men, I'm asking her not to be like the rest of the men.
We're used to that anyway.
Yes, I'm asking her to be the woman, and I'm asking her to be the one that makes us think differently,
Right.
because she's bringing up things that us as men we wouldn't think about. That's the
love that.
diversity you want. But now if everyone thinks the same way,
I love that. All right, so I need to wrap up these people because Farai Maposa. Farai, hi, thank you very much for asking. You want to say hi to Farai?
Farai,
What is your strategic vision for SADC's future? And what specific initiative? We've kind of touched on this, right?
Not really.
Not-
I've touched on what we do. So
Right. So it goes, what is your strategic vision for SADC's future, and what specific initiatives are you implementing to encourage innovation and adapt to evolving industry trends?
my vision for the region
Yeah.
is a properly integrated region,
Right.
both in terms of trade, freedom of movement for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's really quite important. You cannot trade with someone that you cannot go see.
Yeah.
So freedom of movement is very important. In any case, most of the borders we have in Africa are artificial borders that were decided by some people in Europe who were scrambling for Africa, and then they decided, okay, this is yours, this is mine, this is yours, this is mine, etc. Right? So the borders are meaningless, and if we can start seeing ourselves as one people, we start seeing ourselves as a 350 million people who are one within the region. That's one thing that's really important. And the way we do that is through integration, right? Two, I really see a future where we can trade more with each other than with other people. Do you know that of all the trade that leaves, that happens in this region, most of it is with outside people and
Not
not with
Africans?
each other?
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Less than 20% of the trade is intra-African trade.
Really?
The
Less
rest
than
of the
20%?
Less than 20% within the SADC region. It gets worse when you look at the continent as a whole. But just SADC region, less than 20% of our trade is with each other.
Right.
The rest is with China, India, America, which is not bad, but why aren't we trading with each other also?
More, yeah.
We've got 350 million people. Why aren't we trading with each other? There is a need and a demand for that. And what I find as well is that everybody wants to to do the same thing as everyone else. Let's talk about energy. Everybody wants to export. So if everyone's exporting, who are you exporting to? If South Africa exports, Botswana exports, Zimbabwe exports, Zambia exports, Lesotho exports, Eswatini exports, Namibia exports, Angola exports. Who are you exporting to? Because you're not exporting to each other, because now you are all making power. So you need to think about, okay, we can't all export, but what can I do to contribute to the region? Maybe I don't become the power producer. Maybe I become something else. Maybe they don't do that and I do it because I've got the skills to do that.
Right.
Botswana, for example, you're on this corridor between Zambia, Zimbabwe to the rest, right? You are literally in the middle of the north-south corridor.
Yeah.
Botswana is very well positioned to essentially say, why don't we industrialize? Because everything goes through us, and what are we benefiting from? The copper goes from Zambia, we don't even see it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Why don't we create a little copper smelter and make copper pipes? We can start small, start off by supplying Botswana with copper pipes, and then after supplying Botswana, we then start supplying the rest of the region. Because we've now learned how to make copper pipes. We don't have to mine copper to be able to make copper pipes. Think about Singapore. Singapore doesn't have oil.
Not at all.
But it's one of the oil trading hubs of the world.
How, Sway?
So if we think about the region as that way, to say, but what's my strategic advantage of being part of this region?
Yeah.
And Botswana is, I'm on the corridor. How can I make the most of the corridors? We've got special economic zones.
Yes.
How do we not just make them special and we make them strategic? How do we use the special economic zones to actually foster trade and development? And for that, you need power, by the way.
You've got to have power.
And we need to think differently about power.
Yeah, we'll get
and
to
that's
your
something
greed,
that's really quite important.
Your greed and the minerals and the balance synergy that needs to be there will be my last question. Because okay, so that was who? Monica. Are we still good? We're okay. All right, so we're done with Monica. Now we have Sesha. Hi, Sesha. All right, I want to say hi to Sesha. Super grateful for the platform on important regional conversations, TK Lennon. Guys, I told you I'm getting big now. I'm original, so you got it. You're welcome. She says, SADC DFRC operates at the center of finance and regional integration. But many industrialization projects across Southern Africa still struggle to access the kind of risk capital needed to truly grow and scale. In your view, what needs to change in the region's financing architecture for AFCFTAs. What is
The
it?
African Continental Free Trade
Oh yes,
African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
yeah. Let's cut the part where I ask what. Right. So I hope you got the question right.
Hmm.
Southern Africa still struggles to access the kind of risk capital needed to truly grow and scale. What needs to change in the region's financing architecture?
I don't think it's the architecture that needs to change. I think what needs to change is governments need to make money available for early stage development of projects
Ah,
because banks want a return, and early stage development is risk capital, right? Because you put the money in, you don't know if the thing's going to work or not.
yeah.
So you hope it's going to work, and then it can be funded, it can be banked, but someone needs to take that risk. And if we can create more platforms where we do risk capital, and governments need to think about how to, I mean, Botswana doesn't have a project preparation facility at all.
Oh, project facilitation,
Project preparation
facility. Right.
No one has it. None of the development finance institutions have a project preparation facility. Yet you want to create a pipeline of investable projects that will support the country.
Hmm.
But how do you create the pipeline if you don't have risk capital to create that pipeline with?
Mm.
So one of the things that I believe the DFIs could do, and DFI that should be doing this, by the way, are two. There's the main DFI that should be doing this is BDC.
BDC, yeah.
BDC, in my view, should create a project preparation facility, which would actually take early stage risk on projects. Before the project is bankable, before you start thinking about, I need 5 billion to build this plant, the work that needs to be done before that. This is technology selection, looking at who your off-takers are, where the market is, looking at the risks, and how do you de-risk the project. All of those things.
Right.
You need money to do those things.
Can I
Right.
ask? Can I ask why you say? Sorry to interject. Can I ask why you say BDC instead? How many DFIs do it? Do NDB?
So you've got NDB, you've got BDC,
Then
you've got
CEDA.
CEDA,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then you have smaller ones which are niche and focused, like BHC,
Of course.
which focuses on housing. And
Yeah.
then you also have, BSB is not really a DFI, but it's a deposit taking government bank because it's
course.
100% owned by government, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, BDC, their mandate is really looking at industrialization because they're supposed to be
It's
the ones
mega.
that fund mega projects,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But where do the mega projects come from? You can't say that BDC sits and waits for somebody to come knocking and say, I've got a mega project that I want you to fund.
No.
You need to create a pipeline of projects. And the one thing that you need to know, which is why it's risk capital, is 1 in every 3 projects you do will actually be successful.
Mm.
So you need to have a whole number of projects, knowing that a third of your projects could be successful. And the third that is successful pay for what you
For
lose
the ones that you lost
on the other
Right,
ones.
Right.
Because your risk capital is normally about 5% of the entire investment capital. So if you need R1 billion, you don't need R1 billion to do your early stage development. You
Right.
need 5% of
5%
R1 billion.
of that. Right.
And that's essentially what you need to really start looking at to say, how do we create that? And the thing is, you can find a partnership between you and private sector where you say, okay, you want to do this project, you've got this great idea, I'll match you 50-50. You
Mm.
bring your 50%, I'll give you my 50, and I take equity. So you're not just giving the money away. You actually take equity risk in those projects
Right.
and you develop those projects, and then you make sure that you manufacture an exit point where you can actually then exit the investment. And then you can then reinvest that money back into the fund to then do more projects. It's almost like venture capital, but
Yeah, I was
before the
about to
venture
ask that.
capital
Right,
space.
right,
Because normally
right.
venture capitalists, they want a project that's already somewhat cooked,
Yes.
but just needs to grow and scale. Right? This is before the project even gets cooked. This
So-
is before you even are able to get a single check of cash flow.
Goodness.
So that's
so we
what
don't
you
have that. We don't have a
Botswana
preparation
doesn't have
facility.
a project preparation facility, and that's what you need to create a pipeline of projects.
I see that. Wow. Okay. I'm learning a lot, obviously, because with BDC, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do that because of the mega capacity
Yes.
for projects that they have. Okay, we're gonna have to move on because I need to make sure we who else is there? How many do we have?
Clearly, there's a lot. I'm
Nah,
not sure we're
this-
going to be able to go through all of
No,
them.
no, no, we can't. I'll take one last one. And please forgive me if your name didn't come up. Then we'll do it for another time. This one says, what is the so this one is muletenyane. How you doing, muletenyane? Is like, what is the one structural change SADC must make in the next 5 years to truly unlock regional economic integration? And what is currently stopping it? So we're looking at 5 years, structural change,
Sure, in 5 years,
regional structure, economic structural change. Yeah, 5 years.
I think we've got an instrument in SADC called SACU,
Yes.
which is essentially an instrument that's supposed to facilitate and support trade. In a region where we have 16 countries, I think SACU is only made up of 4,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
If we can find a way of scaling that to every single country within the region,
That'd be a start.
that would be a start, right? Because then it makes sure that we're all in the same space and it facilitates trade even better,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
one. And I think the other thing, which for me is really quite important, is why do we in Africa
Mm.
trade with each other with a foreign currency?
Oh,
Do you know that if I want to convert rands into pula, there is no direct reference.
I was talking to a friend just like yesterday about the same thing.
You first have to think, what's the dollar rand exchange rate? What's the pula dollar exchange rate?
And then
Do that thing, then cross and then reconvert. Why can't we trade with each other with our own currencies? Or why can't we create one single currency for the entire region?
So we're not trading with each other to the fullest capacity, less than 20% inside it. And when we're
And then
doing
when we are trading with each other, we then use the dollar.
isn't that like a fundamental systematic thing, or what is that, Zweli?
It's something that was put in place many years ago by America
And it
after
hasn't
the Second
changed.
World War,
And
and
it
it
hasn't
hasn't changed. I mean, we buy oil in dollars, we buy everything in dollars. Even commodities that we trade out of Africa are priced in dollars on the commodity markets exchange. So if you really think about it, everything is then linked to the dollar. So when we trade with each other, we then go outside to come back in. It's like I always say, flying to Kenya, and then I take Ethiopian Airlines. I go past my destination, I fly over it, and then I go to Ethiopia, and then I come back again. And that's what we're doing in the way that we trade with each other. So if we could remove that barrier and be able to freely move money around without relying firstly on the dollar, but also having a system and a way that allows us to move money around, like the EU has.
Yeah.
They've got the euro, and everyone uses the euro
Yeah.
in the entire
Yeah.
EU, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Then the other thing, which is not an economic structural change, is the way we make decisions within SADC.
Mm.
Africans have this thing that we must make decisions on consensus. You will never have consensus in anything because there will
Impossible.
always be someone that thinks differently that will say no.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And sometimes you have to let the majority make a decision. You move with that decision, and then you can adjust as you go along. And then eventually the person who said no may then see the light and come back. Because I truly believe that there's better decisions in the majority than there are when you are singular.
When you're single, yeah, for
Right.
sure, for sure.
It actually was proved when I did my course at INSEAD. One of the exercises we did was where they gave us a riddle of, which has a right answer, by the way. If you're stranded in the middle of the ocean on a raft, you've got 20 things. You need to put them in an order of what's the most important thing that you should have to the least important thing that you should have, right? And there's a clear answer based on survival skills, etc., that you need to have. So first, we all did it by ourselves.
Okay.
Then we had to do it together.
Okay.
Then we looked at the correct answer. Then we looked at the answers we gave individually,
singular, and
versus the answers that we did in a group. And I think it was 80% of the time of all the groups, the group answers were better than the
when you're
individual
individuals.
answers.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
And sometimes that's what we need to do. The group answer maybe and then there are cases where the singular answer is better than the group answer, but majority of the time the group answer is better. And you cannot make decisions just because one person said no. In a group of 16, you should be able to vote by majority and then move on.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. We've been working on the Regional Development Fund within the SADC region for years now.
Okay.
And this is a fund that is meant to unlock infrastructure development,
Right.
economic development, ensure there's food security, ensure that we have industrial development. In the 20 years that there hasn't been consensus
On
within
the
the
fund?
SADC, yes, on the fund. Everyone believes that it's a good thing to have, but
Okay.
there's no consensus on how it should be implemented.
Ah.
So if the majority had said we are going ahead with this, and by the way, there is a majority agreement in how things should happen, but
Okay.
there may be one or two countries that are saying no.
Okay.
If these countries had actually went with the majority, the region would have a fund right now that supports infrastructure development and industrialization and all of that.
Goodness.
But
man.
we don't have it because we didn't have majority. We didn't have consensus.
That's hurting me a little bit. That's really hurting me a little bit.
And I do understand the wisdom of saying we must have consensus
Yeah.
because that's how we think as Africans, etc. But we also need to think, okay, hold on. How much is consensus hurting us versus having a majority vote?
Yeah, especially for progress sakes, right?
Yes. And in life, I mean, how many? You've got 10 friends. Let's say you've got 10 friends. Not
Yeah.
all 10 friends are going to agree to everything.
Of course.
One
But-
friend will say, I don't want pizza, I
But
want chicken.
we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for your questions. Appreciate it so much. So now, this is like the last chunk of our conversation.
Okay.
All right.
We have been talking. There's a lot to unpack.
There's
I mean,
a
my
whole
life
lot.
is
There's a whole lot.
complicated.
And I'm worried about my brother here because then he has to sit down and do the editing. But I hope you'll be all right. So this part is obviously a little bit of leadership and just self-development.
Mhm.
Because look, like the first thing that I say as the reason for you being here, part of the reason is like inspiration, right? So I'd love for a person who's been listening to your background and upbringing, where you've worked, and all these amazing things that you've said, and even how you answer these questions, touching on the work of DFRC. Inspiration. But now leadership is one heck of a thing, man. I need to tap into your understanding of that. You're the CEO DFRC. You've been a leader in so many spaces before that. I wondered what your philosophy on that is. When you hear leadership, man, what is the first thing that pops into your mind?
You cannot lead others if you can't lead yourself.
You see, that is crazy. Can I tell you why this? Because, wow, where is it? No. I'll show you just now, and you understand why I say this is crazy. Come on. Okay, I can't find it anymore because it's scattered, and this happens sometimes. The next question would have been, is it possible to ever lead people if you can't lead yourself?
No, you can't.
And as somebody that you listen to, that you told me to listen to, Marcus.
Mhm. You have to work on yourself as a person first before you can lead others. Because otherwise, what happens is you lead people and then they have to always respond to you first, then they respond to the work.
Right.
When you show up angry and you show everyone that you're angry, when you show up at the office and you are happy, then you are happy. They know, okay, he's in a good mood. I can tell him this. Or you show up angry and they say, oh, he's in a bad mood. I can't tell him this. And in the workplace, you want transparency. As a leader, you want to know what's good and what's bad.
Right.
But if people have to manage your ego and your personality all the time, then it takes away from doing the job. And then now you become the job and the job is not the job. That's what happens. And that comes from leading yourself.
Right.
Knowing how to manage your emotions, knowing how to show up, and the fact that everything you say has a bigger impact and influence than what you think. You might say something out of anger in a boardroom with your employees, and they will take that very seriously. The words that you use, they will take them seriously. Whereas if you manage your emotions and you said something that was right, you would have a different result. So we need to really think about how we show up in the spaces that we're in. And you can only think about that if you work on yourself.
Right.
And
right.
you work on your ego, you work
Right.
on your imposter syndrome, you work on
Oh,
you work on the fact that you struggle with this and that, and you work on your confidence, and you work on your insecurities, so that your insecurities are not what guide you when you are now leading people. That's important. And that means you have to do a lot of personal development.
yes.
I have 5 books that made a huge change in my life. One is the Bible, because every single leadership principle you can think of, you can find in the
Find
Bible.
from the Bible. Right. Right.
I can't think of any leadership lesson that I've read in another book that I have not seen something about that in the Bible.
In the Bible.
Literally, it's
right.
all there.
Right.
In fact, even the Bible says everything that's happened under the sun has happened before.
Yeah,
So it's not
yeah.
like anything's new.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one. Second book for me, which made a huge impact in my life, was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz.
Right.
If you don't know how to think big, you don't know what you can do. And if you are leading people, you need to lead them to the big, to lead them to the vision, the
But
bigger
first,
thing.
you've got to think big.
But you need to know how to think big yourself for you to be able to lead people to something big.
What does that look like, though?
What, thinking big?
Yeah. What is like the most practical thing? Is that
The most practical thing about thinking big is not thinking about what can go wrong first.
okay?
Because as soon as you start thinking about what can go wrong, then the thing that is big then becomes, but we can't do it.
Right. Right. Right.
Being able to think big. And then when you're able to think big, your brain starts thinking, okay, if this is what we want to do, how do we support you? Because you see, your brain doesn't know the difference between a lie and the truth. If you say to your brain, I can't do this, your brain looks for evidence to support what you tell it. If you say to your brain, I can do this, your brain looks for evidence to support the fact that you can do it.
The man that says he can and the man that says he can't.
They're both right.
They're both
because
right.
that's how your brain works. What you tell it, it then looks for every evidence that proves that that's the case. Take a woman who thinks the husband is cheating, right?
Right.
The first thing they're going to look for every single evidence that proves that the husband is cheating, whether he's cheating or not.
Or not. Right.
They're going to look
There's
for
gotta
every
be an
single
action looking
evidence
for it.
that looks like they're cheating, and they will believe that evidence, even if it's false. Same as a man. This is not just women.
Yeah.
Men, we're also the same.
Right. Right.
We think that our woman is doing something. We look for all the evidence that proves that they're doing that thing, even if they're not doing it. And that's the thing, that's how we live our lives. What you tell yourself becomes true. I'm not saying that men and women don't do things that are wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Of course.
But
course.
most of the time when a man is a good man or a woman is a good woman and you start thinking that they do things, you're going to find all the evidence that prove that. So that's how your brain thinks. The third book, which is important, is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, I can't remember who wrote the book, but
Yeah.
Dale Carnegie.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
I should know this because my son just completed a Dale Carnegie course.
Oh, cool. You sent me the same book, actually.
I did send you the
title.
same book, yeah. It's a very important book because here's why. So, and this links to the other 2 books I'm going to talk about.
Right.
People like talking more about themselves than talking about you.
That is so true.
If you are in a group of people and you start talking to them, if someone says, oh, me, I like ice cream, and you say, oh, what kind of ice cream do you like? They'll tell you the kind of ice cream. So where was the last place you had the most amazing ice cream? They'll tell you their whole story. They'll never, most of the time, they'll hardly turn around and ask you,
What's your
what's your favorite ice cream? Because people like talking about themselves. I mean, we've been on this podcast. You've been asking questions. I've been talking about myself the whole time. And every single guest that you've had here talks about themselves, right?
Right.
And you just ask the questions.
Yeah.
We love talking about ourselves. But for you to really understand what drives people, to understand what's important to people, you need to talk to them and get to know them. Because you cannot offer someone something if it doesn't align with what's important to them.
And you can only find out.
I cannot sell you
Yeah.
a life that doesn't link to what's important to you.
Right.
If what's important to you is family, if I sell you a lifestyle that's got nothing to do with family, you're not going to buy it because it's not important to you. But if I know what's important to you, I can sell to you what's important to you
Mm.
from a sales perspective, but not just from a sales perspective, even in terms of doing business. I don't do business with people who don't align with my values and the
Right.
things that I believe in.
At all.
I've been asked by many people
Yeah?
to say, we should start a business together. We think you could, but I would say no, because I'm like, but your values don't align with mine. So I can see where we're going to clash already.
Mm.
So I would rather not do business with you
Right.
and do business with people that. So how do I know your values? By talking to you, by getting to know you. And it's not about me, it's about you. Then I get to know a lot about you.
Friends and Influence. Such a
Yes.
lovely book, it sounds.
And once you know someone, you can influence them.
Ah,
That's the thing, because you know what's important to them.
I'm going to be on a mission.
Not from a dark psychology perspective.
Too
but
late,
from,
Zweli.
not from that perspective, but from a perspective of I can influence you to do something that is aligned with what I want to do. Like if I want to sell to you, I need to know what's important to you so that I can craft the thing I'm selling to meet your needs.
Sounds like something Robert Greene would say. Man,
Yes,
you know?
it is. It's
Yeah.
That's a principle that he has.
Yeah,
Actually, if you read any of his books, they also talk to that.
yeah.
And then the last two books, which I think are important.
So are we
is-
calling these books like the books that you must read if you want to be a great leader?
for me,
For you. Okay.
people have different books.
For
I
sure.
would add number 6. There's
Okay.
one other book that I will add.
Right.
So the other two books is one is the Stoic Way. What's the name of the book? It's a book by Marcus Aurelius where
Okay.
where he reflects. It's more his diary
Meditation
than
and
anything.
stuff.
It's meditations by
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius.
Right.
That book, and he was writing for himself. Funny enough, he wasn't writing for anyone else. He was
Wow.
doing that reflecting thing that we talked about, where he would come back and reflect on life,
Right.
and then he would write it down. And then when you read it now, you're like, wow, right? So one of the key things about Stoicism, which is important, which for me is important, there's two things. One is the way we react to life or the way we see problem is because of the eye we use to look at those problems.
Right.
We worry more about things not because of what they are, but because of the meaning that we give to those things.
Oh, we attach to these things.
Yes.
Right.
For example, you send someone a text, they don't respond. Then you start thinking, why are they not responding? Is it because of this? Is it because of this? Is it because now you're giving meaning to something that probably the guy was busy or he was sleeping. And now you've given a whole lot of meaning to it. And then now you get angry because they didn't respond, but the guy was sleeping.
Oh, you just
Right.
reminded me of something. And thanks to you, by the way, because you have a disciple here and a student of Stoicism. Seneca said something about we suffer more in our imagination than in
Yes.
reality.
Because all of those things, you are imagining them and they're not reality.
Goodness, man. And people have died because of imaginations.
Think about it in relationships.
Relationships.
You go out with the boys. Your girlfriend or your wife sends you a message. You don't answer. And the reason you don't answer, you're at a club or wherever it's loud. You don't hear your phone ringing. You don't see the message and you don't respond. Then what happens is that your partner then starts creating a picture of why you are not answering. And then they suffer because now they're concerned about what you are doing purely because you're not answering. And vice versa, by the way.
Of course.
Your girl goes out with the girls,
The girls, yeah.
and she doesn't respond to your messages or anything like that. And you start thinking that, but why are they not responding? Is it because she picked up some guy picked her up, or are they having drinks with some guys or whatever? You create this picture of what's happening there when it's
Right.
not even happening,
Right.
right? And most people suffer from that, where you're not responding because you're busy, and they think, oh, why is he silent? Why is he quiet? Recently, someone called me and didn't answer their phone, and then they were like, I was wondering why the silence, and I was like, but why were you wondering? I was busy. I had things to do. So. And that's something that I've always learned. When someone doesn't respond to me, maybe they're busy or something.
Oh, yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
respond eventually, I'm
Right.
sure.
Right.
Even if they don't respond, there must be a reason.
Yeah.
But I will never know that. So why must
You're
I
not
worry about?
suffering in your mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not suffering in the mind that they didn't respond, because there may be many reasons why they didn't
For
respond.
sure. For sure.
By the time they respond, they'll tell me why they didn't respond. Maybe their phone died or whatever and they couldn't respond or whatever. Which is why, for example, when I went to the party that I went to, the people didn't pitch.
Yeah.
It was like, there must have been a reason, and I'm not going to worry myself about what the reason is.
Mm.
So why must I worry about the fact that they're not here? I must enjoy the moment.
So we shouldn't attach all these meanings to these
No,
things.
we shouldn't create meaning that's not there,
Right.
because
right.
then we suffer and we create realities that are not. The mind is very funny. Where the mind finds a gap, it tries to fill that gap with some information. But the problem is that sometimes that information is not good or it's not real, and it's that's why we worry more about things that have never happened, that will never happen.
Let's talk about the last book. Is it
And
the
then
last one?
then the last book is by Machiavelli, The Prince.
Yes.
So for me in life, I think you need a balance of the two.
Okay.
So the Stoic way is being grounded. The Machiavellian way is being ruthless.
Ah.
And you need both. So before we started the podcast, I told you about something that happened in my life where I was a whistleblower to something, and then the person that I whistleblowed on came after me. And one thing that I could have done, I could have been completely a stoic and just ignored it and just,
Yeah.
But Machiavelli says, if someone comes after you, go after them and obliterate them, so that if they respond, if they come back at you, the comeback will be so small because they've been completely obliterated. And if you think about any war that's been won, it's always been won on that basis.
Oh yeah.
You make sure that when they retaliate, they can't. Their retaliation is so minuscule that it can't affect you.
Right.
And that's exactly what you do. So every single person that's ever attacked me in any way or form, that's how I've always responded. And then the other book, which is number 6, but then there's number 7 also. Number 6 is The Art of War.
Ooh.
Right. Never go to war when you are not prepared.
Okay.
Because when you're not prepared and you go to war, you will lose. I spend more time reading people, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, you've told me before.
I sit with people and I watch them. I listen to them. Not because I want to gather information to use against you at some point, but I use it to figure out what's important to you. And unfortunately, if you come after me, I've got enough information, enough arsenal to know what's important to you and what I need to attack for you to be able, for you to completely fall apart. And I listen to people who will threaten you and they sell things. You're like, okay, that's fine. I hear you. But you don't know what I've gathered about you, which is so huge.
Right.
It might not be threatening or whatever, but what I can do with that to fully attack you.
So you referenced The Art of War there, and I thought just that thing about you don't go to war unless you're ready.
Yes, and you never threaten someone unless you are ready to deal with the ramification of that.
And then it also says unless you have a clear sign of victory.
Yes.
So now what it sounds to me like when you're saying these things, it's like you just don't go in there unless you know with this type of information that I have, with this type of knowledge and wisdom I have going into this battle, there's definitely one way out, and it's victory.
And a lot of people go to war without preparing, without knowing whether they can win or not. I would rather not fight. I mean, you go to a club, there's some huge guy there with huge muscles. You're like, if I fight that one, I'm going to die.
Not.
Maybe I shouldn't fight him, but I can fight him in other ways. But not in this place. I need to put him in a space where I know I can win.
How does that work in the corporate world, though? Like
every day.
Every day?
Every day, that's what you do.
Wow.
You're negotiating with people.
Yeah.
You're not fighting all the time, but you need to know what battles to fight and what battles not to fight.
Very important.
It's very important. Yeah. Sometimes you don't need to fight the battles. They're not worth the pain. Like recently, someone puts for something forward, which they were fighting. I wasn't.
Okay.
And I was like, but it's not worth fighting anyway. So I left it. Didn't do anything about it. And they went on. I left it. And guess what's happened? We still have to work together. So you were fighting, but it's not worth fighting. And if you, in the grander scheme of things, if we had an adult conversation, there would not have been a need for people to threaten each other and to say things, but you can sit down and actually talk about things. And the thing is, I don't say these things and I let it mellow and simmer with you. You will figure out it was stupid eventually. That, oh, this was stupid for me to do this.
Right.
But, and the whole reason for that is, as a stoic man, you must know what's important and what's not. You must know what you should fight, what you shouldn't fight. You must know what deserves your attention and what doesn't deserve your attention.
You know what you told me? That just came because you say that.
Mhm.
What was that thing that you said about dogs in a car moving?
Yeah, dogs don't chase a car that's stationary. They chase a car that's moving. So if you're stationary, they don't chase you. So if you're stationary, you are then fighting something that,
yeah,
but as soon as you move,
right.
then the dog will chase after you.
Mm.
So that's the thing that happens. But my point on this is this, that you need to guard your attention, and the things you pay attention to
Yeah.
determine what's important to you. So if every single fight that comes across your table, you fight them, it detracts you from the real thing you want to achieve.
Yeah.
If you're going to fight every single thing, you're not going to achieve what you want. But if you know these are principal battles that I have to fight, because if these things happen, this is how it derails my future.
Right.
Then you fight those.
Then you have to get in
Then
there.
you have to get in there and
Guys,
fight.
you heard the books that you have to read. We'll also try to... Okay, we'll hold. Just go look for them.
And then
Adrian is like, yo, man, my man.
Then the last book, which I really think it's important, is finding your why. Because everything in life you do because of a why. Even when someone fights with you, there's a why. There's a reason why they fight.
Always a why.
And the question is, though, is the why strong enough to live through the difficult times? Because everything that you do will always have hardship. And if your why is not strong enough when the hardship comes, you give up.
Bad foundation. Yeah. No
But
foundation at all.
if your why is so strong that even when things are hard, you know why you're doing this thing, you will stick it out. But if your why is flimsy, as soon as the first sign of discomfort comes, you drop it. Think about people at the beginning of the year who say they want to go to gym and lose weight.
Hey.
How many people do you hear saying, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to have a summer body? You ask them why. They don't have a why, they just want to look good.
So it's
But
easy for them to fall.
It's easy to fall off the thing because it's not a strong enough why for them to actually go after it. But if there was a strong why, then you would say, hey, I have to do this because if I don't do this, there's serious, dire consequences.
What's been your why? And I wonder if I should separate your life's why and your career's why. Are they intermingled? Are they intertwined?
I think they're intermingled, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Growing up, the one thing that my parents used to say is that you only have one job: to better your surname.
To better your what?
Surname.
Right.
So the way I found my life, the way I grew up, and the way that my children grow up, there must be difference.
It's got to be.
Yes. So it's all I have to do is to better my surname. If my mother and my father could only become a teacher and a fitter and turner, they gave me an opportunity to become more than that. So I need to give my children an opportunity to become more than that, which means I cannot operate at the level of a fitter and a turner and a teacher. I have to level up. And that's my why. Everything I do, I'm always thinking, how am I leveling up
Next level
from where I was to where I am now?
I like that.
That's
a very
important,
strong
right? That's what drives me.
Yeah.
But now if you look at my career and what drives me in my career, I'm always looking for how, if we look at the African continent, if we look at the way why aren't we a superpower as a continent?
Yeah, right.
Our parents have laid a foundation, especially if you come from South Africa, where our parents fought in the struggle so that we can have freedom. And our only why is how do we make sure that we don't go back to where they were, that we don't go back to having to fight the same struggle they fought. They've won that struggle. We need to fight a different struggle. And that struggle should not be the struggle that our children and our children's children have to fight. We need to be better. We need to be better than where our parents were. And that for me is the important thing. Africa can become a superpower if we stop looking at the past and we keep thinking, how can I be better than what I found?
Right.
Every role in every company I've worked for, my drive has always been, What can I do that when I walk away from this position, it's better than when I found it?
So
And
that
it's
would be
bigger than what I
your
found
legacy,
it.
right?
Yes. And we should leave a legacy. I say this to young graduates all the time. You get a job with a job description. By the time you move from that job to the next job, you must have made this job so much bigger than when you found it, so that whoever comes in has bigger shoes to fill than when you started doing that job. Because otherwise, why must I promote you? Because if you can only do what's given you on your job description and you can't do anything more than that, that means you're not ready to do more.
Right.
So you need to grow your responsibility and your cake, so much so that someone says, hey, you're now swimming in a small pond. You need to move to the
You
pool.
need to get out. Yeah.
But you can't do that if you only think this is all I can do. And I
Goodness,
really
man.
believe that Africa can become more if we
Yeah.
had leaders that when they go into power, their thing is not how much can I do for myself, but how much can I do for my people. So when I walk away from this, I've made it bigger and I've made a huge impact compared to when I found it.
Simple.
That's all they have to do.
Straightforward.
That's all you have to do is in life. Everything that gets given to you, how can I leave this thing better than when I found it? It's the principle of the talents in the Bible,
Yes.
where the master gives all of them talents. One multiplies it, one hides it,
And then
one
the other one
loses.
is like, I'm not gonna do nothing
Then the other
about
one
this.
says, I'm going to do nothing about it. I'm just going to hide it because I know this one's ruthless and I'm going
Yeah.
to give it back to him as I found it. And the master was more gracious to the guy that lost the money
Yeah.
than the one who did nothing to
Did
it.
nothing. Yeah. That's a very powerful parable.
Because
right
you're
there.
being selfish.
Yeah.
You've been given something. You're supposed to make it better
Mm.
with all that you've been given to.
And I think you've been doing very well so far, man, in that regard. And I wish you nothing but the best for all the years that you have to be at the top of the helm, SADC DFRC, and a lot of other things that you need to do. Last words, Zweli, because
Mhm.
I think we need a part two, man. We need a part two. It's a lot of things I wanted to ask you here, but because of time,
Mhm.
because I had specific questions for young people as well, looking up to leadership and what steps could they take, laziness, procrastination,
Mhm.
the age of social media. And, you get
Oh,
to this
and that's
place.
a big thing, social
It's a
media.
huge thing, right? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Things that are supposed to bring us together, things that are supposed to make us enhance and progress.
Mm.
But in the workplaces, they're sort of dumbing us down because you're not working. You're actually on your Instagram and your TikTok when you're supposed. So it's a lot of things that I need to talk to you about. So part two, can we have like a promise? Part two.
Yes, I promise I will come back.
There we go. We had it on camera. So last words, man. You could take it originally, you could take it personally, you could take it on leadership, you could take it however you want to ballpark it. What would be some of your last words given what we've talked about since we started speaking? A message to Africa would be great too, in your last words.
Message to Africa.
Yeah.
It's like I'm struggling to find one thing. And
Yeah.
the reason I'm struggling to find one thing is there's so much,
Of course.
right? And the one thing that we all need to realize is that life is a gift,
Yeah.
right? And I think everything starts from there.
Yeah.
We've been given a gift to do the best that we can do with it. And it's our responsibility to use that gift to really impact the people that are around us, to really be the people that actually give to each other and grow each other. Imagine if we all work together to grow each other.
Mm.
How far we would go in life when
Yeah.
we do that.
Yeah.
When someone gives to you and they give of themselves to you, how much do you take that and say, I really appreciate that, and how can I use this to grow and help someone else also?
Mm.
Or how can I give back to this person that's helping me get to where I am?
Right.
We have this thing in Africa of being consumers. We always take. But if you continuously are taking and you are not plowing back,
Oh.
then what you're taking will finally run out
Right.
and you'll have nothing to take.
Right.
And unless we learn to not only take, but also to produce, we will actually create more
Right.
because we'll have a bigger pie to take from. But if this is all I can have, this glass, and I keep drinking from this glass, whatever I'm drinking is going to be less and less and less. I can only drink more than what this can hold. if I can pour back into it.
Right.
And that's how our lives should be. We should be pouring back into each other. We should be pouring back to other people. You also need to be pouring back into yourself. Because you can't
Very
neglect
important,
yourself,
very
because
important.
you cannot give from a place of empty. But a lot of the times, people who are givers tend to also give from a place of empty, because no one is filling them up.
Right.
Eventually, can you imagine if you're in a relationship and someone is constantly giving of their time, of their value, of themselves, and you just keep taking and taking? At some point, they're going to run out.
It'll break, yeah.
And they will break, and you will wonder what changed. It's because no one has been putting back into them so they can give more. Because the tank becomes empty. And it's not just about relationships, it's also about life in general.
Yeah.
We have to give back. We have to think about this life that I've been given. One day when I die, what would I have done with it? What would I have given back? There's a song. I've been talking so much, my lips are dry. There's a song that I grew up singing when I went to school. It says, in the morning of my life, I will look to the sunrise, and the promise that I will make. Oh, no, it doesn't say the promise I will make. It says, in the morning of my life, I shall look to the sunrise, and the promise I will. No. I can't remember the exact words, but what it literally says is that the promise that I will make is to be bold, to be strong, and to be true, and to fill this world with love my whole life through. Then at the end of the song, it says, in the evening of my life, I shall look to the sunset, and I will look back at my life, because all of this will be true. Because now at the beginning it was a promise, but now at the end it's the truth.
Looking back, it's the truth.
And you're looking back, and the question is, was I brave? Was I strong? Was I true? Did I fill the world with love my whole life through? The question I have is, what promise are you making in the dawn of your life? Because that is the question, is the thing that will drive you to when you get to the end. Because you're going to look back.
Yeah, you have to.
On your deathbed, you're going to be looking back and asking yourself the question, shit, what did I do?
What did I do? Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear?
We'll cut that out.
You're going to look back so you're going to look back and ask yourself, what did I do with my life? Every single person on their deathbed, one of the things they ask themselves is, what have I done with my life? Now I'm on my deathbed. Was I courageous? Was I strong? Was I true? Did I fill the world with love? Because if you're not doing those things, you're going to go to your death with regret. So how you live your life, you might think, but I'm living my life right now and it's just my life. But your life has impact on other people.
On the next person.
On the next person. And the question is, when you die, do people hate you or love you? What have you left? So maybe the last thing I would say is, I've said a lot of things, but the last thing I would say is, in the dawn of your life, right now, because you're not dead yet. And you are still some people have many years to go, some people not so many. But where you are right now, are you filling the world with love? Are you brave? Are you strong? Are you true? Because those are the questions you will be asking yourself one day.
You're going to make me cry, man. Zweli, thank you so much, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, as I hoped I would, as I knew I would. Man, thank you so much for stopping by.
You're welcome.
I really appreciated pouring into the Juice 2.0 podcast, especially the audience. They're going to have a great time with this one. I'm telling you, they're going to have a great time.
I hope so. I hope that whatever it is that I said would be useful to someone. I know there's a lot of things I said which are rubbish, maybe.
Nah, never. Everything was working.
But I just hope that someone can take even one thing that they can implement and
run with it.
And it changes their lives.
You would have won. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Until the next time we do part 2.
Yeah, I will commit to part 2.
There we go. We'll talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. All the way here from Town Lodge, Zweli Sapula, SADC DFRC. It's been an amazing thing. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Just drop the comments, whatever you liked, You can still ask him questions for part two that's coming, but just go all out there and um, subscribe. Thank you very much. I was like, what is that thing? Please subscribe. Let the family grow. Until the next time, we have another amazing guest coming on. Hey, do the one thing. Please stay juicy. And just in Zweli's words, just brave, courageous, pour love, lift people up. I won't discard that with my own words. You heard what he said, you know what I mean? So just let's try to do that and let's create a very, very happy environment around ourselves. Until the next time, cheers. Bye.